has developed. Of course, ROUGE, they wouldn't, let it through if they didn't want to play it.
Now, this will be a good, as you said, a good start here for FaZe. As you said, it's a Brazilian map. It is, for many seasons, been among the most played in the Latin America region. ROUGE, as a North American team, is among the most aggressive. We saw that in their match against Team Secret yesterday, much to your chagrin, in their victory over the 3 Brits and the 2 French men on the team. ROUGE plays very, very aggressive, and it can match up quite well against the more methodical style of play of the European teams. Interestingly, they're now matching up against an equally aggressive team in a region that is known to often take the fight, and that's FaZe. And they're a team that know how to push and how to push quickly. They had a bit of operator swaps yesterday. We saw Gohan was playing Twitch, and I believe went something like plus 21 on the day. Just a staggeringly good performance for him. Something to keep an eye out for is how does FaZe use their roles, because obviously they've been tinkering with them because they haven't found that success that they want. The first ban, though, is going to be Hibana and Glaz going as well. A Hibana ban on Bank means that those hatches are likely going to stay safe. You're going to have to run a Thermite every single round.
Yeah, so this certainly does let us know that ROUGE, they're looking for these server pushes. They wouldn't, or just say they're looking to defend these server pushes, because that's going to be then really the only viable way you can attack that downstairs, is going through the dirt tunnel, taking control of server, and then finally Thermiting your way in free, because he's going to be the only hard breacher that is going to be playable. Echo as well is going to be banned out, so Mira and Echo, the 2 defending operators, will not be played during this matchup. Certainly Mira is a big impact for a map like Bank, where we talk about Bank is very universal in that all 4 bomb sites can be played. It's very adaptable for many, many sides. But taking out that Mira is going to be a big, big hit for particular bomb sites, such as the downstairs, or even possibly the upstairs as well, where Mira is so crucial for holding some of them long corridors and big choke points that teams like ROUGE may want to go for.
On lockers and CCTV, it enables a different style of play, where usually there will be more of an investment into the roam because you can't turtle up the same way. Now, it's funny because the 4 sites on Bank are all defendable. We have seen teams run the gamut of going from one site to another and continuously work around the site rotation. Now that there is the mandatory 3-site rotation should you prevail on 1 to 2 sites, Bank, I'm surprised, actually hasn't seen more play, because you figure with how even some of these sites are to defend, there would be more of a focus there. I think that's why Coastline has seen such a disproportionate amount of play over previous seasons, is that Coastline has, 3 sites that are quote-unquote defendable. Of course, it is an attacker-sided matchup, so defendable is a loose term applied here. But for Bank, usually what you'd see on a CCTV defense is some teams might reinforce those 2 walls down by the CCTV doorway, or possibly shoot them open to make it so that an exothermic charge can't go on with great ease, maybe give the defenders extra long lines of sight. But usually, the most important part of that defense is a mirror window that you can sit behind and use that vision as a powerful position to play out of. That's not going to be available this time around, and right where the mirror window usually would be is where the wall has been blown wide open. You can see here, ROUGE not really committing any bodies to holding the area between the bombs or by vault.
This is a very aggressive setup coming out from ROUGE. You can see where they have a lot of presence in towards that middle floor, in and around that open area archives, even branching out in towards the lobby at some stages if they want to go for. Castle Barricade on that break room door is going to stop anybody wanting to peek in towards that open area, which we see the majority of the ROUGE players are going to be stationed into. So the only real viable way that FaZe could go for this is if they want to go for the archives take, but that's very risky because you could walk in. There's a lot of different angles you have to be wary of whenever you do push in there with big impact holes as well. It's going to be a big cause for caution as well for FaZe. But whenever you have a player like Astra who can take these gunfights and take these refrags, but Slash very smartly using this cardiac scanner to the best of his ability is going to see, yeah, I'm not going to deal with that. I get jackaled, and he is going to scurry away back down to the bomb site. But already FaZe have gotten themselves inside of the server because ROUGE, they did not put any presence inside of that area. And this is where FaZe are looking pretty strong here. They've already scattered away the pulse. Pulse, and they can start moving their way in, beating out these smoke grenades, and possibly even get rid of some of these Maestro cameras, and then eventually push in for the plant.
It was good that Slash fell off the way he did. He got droned out by Astro. I don't think he saw the drone the first time around, but then spotted the Dokkaebi by himself on his cardiac sensor, and that was what information he needed to be able to push back. Not having a Mira also means that there will be one Nitro cell that will not be available on defense right away. You see a frag grenade from Cameraman gets tossed in as the Montaigne and Gohan tries to push. He's going to have to chuck out his smoke grenades, and there's probably going to be 6 smoke grenades available in the Dokkaebi, the Jackal, as well as the Monty. The biggest thing will be the Evil Eyes. Moringa's getting the plant down, but there they go. They'll bait out the first smoke. 40 seconds left. This could possibly be very tight on time. As well, you've got the Pulse now playing inside of the vault or jail area, and could possibly toss out a C4 himself. There goes another smoke. Moringa will inhale some of that toxic gas before he falls off along with the Montaigne, and we're riding along with a great overhead view. Easily will have to push up at some point, and here he goes, trying to drop the shield in coordination with the concussive blast. They'll drop that diffuser, but with only 10 seconds left, this is bad for FaZe. They'll have to bait out as much utility as they can. They will juggle yet again, but Easily gets very aggressive. He'll take out 2 as Astro and Moringa are down. Slash jumps in, and Rogue with just so much action all in front of us. This was FaZe not utilizing the clock to the best of their ability, and Rogue collapsing as the clock was about to strike 0.
Yeah, the final execution from FaZe just was not there. It was not consistent enough compared to their room clear out, the way they held their flank coverage. And I would say that's down because we did see that Thermite opened both of them walls. So they had the 2 options where they wanted the plant may have been right up against the wall, or like we did see them attempt to go right beside the server. And I'm quite surprised why whenever the smoke canister got thrown out to where they were planting beside the server, the first part, they had another wall where they could have quickly rotated, dodged the smoke grenade, and planted in the ideal spot, which most teams go for, beside the hard wall. So it's a bit of a mix-up why they wouldn't just try and play a bit of mind games. You could possibly have beat out 2 of them within the same time limit, and you could have had a lot more time to work with at that stage. So certainly the fact that they didn't try and plant beside the hard wall was a real downfall for FaZe Clan.
Especially when they had an opportunity to push it even deeper and then maybe bait out another smoke. It was FaZe not exactly seeming too confident in that strategy. The Monty that looked like was going to be brought out from FaZe a second time around will be swapped off to the Twitch. We saw yesterday, as I mentioned, Astro usually plays that Twitch role. You had Gohan on it instead. The F2 did see a slight nerf just a couple weeks ago in a balancing change introduced from the developers, but it's still one of the best guns in the game. A high rate of fire with solid damage, you can run an ACOG on it, and a good drone makes Twitch a pretty versatile operator, even though her pick rate has diminished in relation to Mira being removed, because your biggest target as a Twitch drone is obviously to take care of those Miras, but still, when you got a good gun in Gohan's hands, he's going to be able to kill most things. It was a bit of a shame to see him running the Montaigne because
he's a fragger.
He's a fragger, absolutely.
So yeah, just touching upon the Twitch as well, we know that Twitch has been one of the strongest operators in terms of gun. It is possibly, arguably, one of the best guns in the game. I would say the only one that could really challenge it would be the R4C and Ash, but even dating back to the times ever Jackal had a C7E, that was probably the best gun in the game I think we've ever had. But nonetheless, if you have somebody like Gohan behind a great gun, he can do wonders for you. And even players like Mav using the C7E, which is still a really solid weapon, a lot of fragging potential possibly here for FaZe, and FaZe are looking to try and go for these repels and try and take the window play on the north side of the plaza, which is an option that we do not see a whole too lot. Yeah, sometimes we might see the Blackbeard there, but never really a lot of pressure putting on. So Rogue, I don't believe they're going to be ready for this type of window play. They're more set up towards holding downstairs as well, as there's going to be one roamer in the form of Geo downstairs as well.
We've also got 2 ACOGs on the board, which is for Bank pretty standard. We've seen Docks and Rooks be played over by a position that's called Banana because it kind of looks similar shape to a banana with all those windows on it. You can also have full control of that long hallway all the way down to the vending machines and to the stock trading room there. Oftentimes, a lot of teams will call that Banana because it looks like a banana.
You like your bananas?
I'm not Canadian. Bananas are fine. They're a good source of potassium and great for breakfast to start your day off.
Lots of players like bananas.
Astro is going to get a one phone call off in time. Speaking of bananas, look at that Gohan running a banana charm, which I've actually seen a lot of players running this time around. I don't think it's in the game yet, so that's just a nice... I
believe Bread was running it in the Vitality game.
I know Magnet was running it as well. Fabian was running it for a little bit too. First kill is going to go to Astro. As you'd see, he'd used this first Logic Bomb and 0 Logic Bombs remaining, so the second one went off too, likely to mark 2 members of Rogue, slashing easily down. So those 2 ACOGs that I'd mentioned before are not going to be much of a factor in the final minute of play.
No, certainly losing them very long, narrow angles that you can hold with the ACOG, especially on a map like Bank. That can be very detrimental. Rogue, they still have a good bit of utility with the smokes, but they're going to have to go for some pretty big frags because ever so patient Astro is waiting for his chance to strike as Eclipse does get the kill onto Moringa. First gas canister is also going to be expended. So 30 seconds to go. FaZe, they have lost a guy, but they have got the refrag, and that's actually going to be Astro inside of the bomb site as well.
And they had designed themselves to fight for a retake. Brian and Eclipse are last 2 left. Eclipse and Geo at one point were both downstairs, trying to bait FaZe into getting a plant off. Eclipse and Brian, though, are doubled up and in a position where a couple good shots from FaZe could take care of both of them. And Astro holding a tight angle. SMG-12 versus SMG-12. Well, the attacker's going to prevail. Brian with his own SMG sidearm will meet an even powerful SMG sidearm, and it is the battle of the SMGs as FaZe equalizes, and they'll take CEO, their first successful round thus far.
Excellent plays from the members of FaZe. That just shows the power of their gun skill. Brian still looking very strong on his smoke. He has certainly been a very big standout player for Rogue in recent times. He's even decided to change his name from Brian to Big Bri, just so he shows how big he really is whenever he does come into them sort of plays. But we will be moving into another top floor defense for Rogue, as they did lose that. Maybe they want to change some things up, and we're actually going to see the mute being picked up. So that's going to be a pretty big pickup, unless it does get sick picked. For a map like Bank, whenever heavy droning is essential for teams, whenever they're doing their room clear out, having some mute jammers will come in pretty big. We will see the sick pick from the Montagna to the Twitch once again, as Gohan is going to be on that F2. We're actually going to see the mute stick as well, so we could see some castle mute tricks, which is a very old strategy. Mav is going to be the only guy who can really counter that. Sledge is the biggest counter to castle barricades in most cases, especially comboed with the mute jammer. So I'm liking the mute pickup for the top floor defense.
This Monty pick and the fact that they've 6-picked off of it twice leads me to believe that it's just mind games that are being played. They're trying to get Rogue into a position where they think there's going to be a shield and maybe try to tweak their strategy accordingly. Because with a Monty, usually what you're going to try to do is funnel him into a tighter space, and then that Monty will either try to bait out your utility gadgets, secondary gadgets, etc., and you have to be in a position to try and take care of him. You can use Legion traps to do that. You can do a C4. You can even do impacts if you are particularly in a pinch, though as of late impacts have been used for much more important purposes, such as depriving teams of those exothermic charges when a thermite comes out, who, by the way, has been required because Hibana is banned. So with Rogue going the way they're going to go, I would have expected these mute jammers to maybe be played a little bit farther off-site to try and deny any intel from FaZe, to be able to gain knowledge of where the roam from Rogue is going to go, especially with the last round, with Rogue fighting for a retake. The big issue was that they were a little bit too disconnected from the push. You know, you find yourselves in a 3v5 at that position. You know, Brian is the only person trying to hold down the site. Geo as a castle is not really the operator you want in the hands of a retake position, even though he himself, a great player, just a bit of a bit too far off. But he's going to find himself on those stairs as well, so he's right back in the exact same spot that he was before.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what Rogue are planning with Geo, especially whenever he's not an operator like a Pulse, who can be very detrimental from below. But because he is the other American operator, he doesn't provide a whole lot for the roam. It's not as if he's a very quick Jaeger or a Bandit with 3 speed. He's just going to be a 2-speed, so not the best roamer in many terms. Typically, we see the castles being played a lot more on site. But if he can make it work, then sure, let's see if he can perform big for his team. Already FaZe are doing the droning phase, and like you did point out, no mute jammers on the downs there, so this is a very easy drone out phase for FaZe. Always confuses me, FaZe and FaZe, you know, two different phases.
I feel you on that one. Astro just seems to avoid what is an impact grenade or possibly even a C4 that gets tossed up into the elevator where he was playing. It looks like it might have been a nitro cell from Eclipse, and somehow Astro walks away without taking any damage from that. If that's the case, it's a bit wonky. The explosion should have probably found the Dokkaebi playing in the elevator, but I digress. Moringa will try to get this wall thermited open. There's no bandit. Won't be really too concerned with the bandit trick, and there's no jammer on the other side of it, so that's a free wall for them. Moringa will get a second open as well. At any point, the final logic bomb can go off from Astro and try to pin people down, and there you have it. So FaZe is in a position right now where they can begin to clamp in on CEO. Moringa playing in between the two exploded panels. Geo trying to work his way back to the site. But he is very far removed and very disconnected from what's going on right now. If we don't have FaZe in a position to possibly capitalize on a late flank, that could be very easy for Rogue to go for a retake. And Slash with that long angle will take out Moringa as he tries to peek in. Next one up is Cameraman, and that's Slash with 2 big kills.
Yeah, Slash already getting the early lead for Rogue inside of the last 30 seconds. This does set up the final 15 seconds where FaZe really do have to play quick on their feet. They have to get these kills. It's going to be Astro falling, and also is going to be Mav, as that will be Gohan just runs in, and Slash gets himself a 4K big round from Slash, one of the most consistent NA players we have seen throughout the entirety of Siege.
Is to be expected, and that is a good position for your ACOG to be playing. It's almost a very similar position to where we see a lot of North American players put the ACOG on Bank when it does happen to pop. Of course, Bank has the lowest pick rate, if I recall correctly, in Pro League this season among all regions, which is not necessarily a surprise, but given the map pool, I would have figured that it would have been a little bit lower, which also would put it below Villa, if I recall, but don't exactly quote me on it. We'll head into round number 4 with 2 defensive round victories, and CCTV will be reopened, and that's exactly where Rogue is going to go. If they prevail here, then they will have to head somewhere else for the 5th round. Not to CEO, though, so they'd have to head to possibly Open Area or Archives Tellers. Archives Tellers is not a terrible place to play. In fact, a lot of your defense will revolve around the same style of defense for CEO with you guarding upstairs.
So essentially, Rogue, they're going to go for a more of a heavy roam game, because the fact that they did 6th pick onto the Vigil just screams, yeah, let's roam on Bank. It's one of the most typical things that teams do like to do. And FaZe have also, they've switched from bringing the Jackal that Mav was playing onto a Sledge. That's a pretty big switch on Bank. I'm quite curious to why they didn't stick the Jackal, because Jackal's very, very strong on Bank. We know this. It's a great roam clear out. Also having that secondary shotgun as a useful vertical tool where you can play if you're from below or above, particularly on the mid floor bomb sites, that can be very strong. But nonetheless, having the Sledge does give that same kind of sledge of potential. But it's going to have to be a pretty big roam game from Geo if he does want to try and contest some of these FaZe members. And also FaZe, they're not having the Montagne either this time.
So they'll go for a more open possible and frag-heavy style of composition here with 2 jammers for Slash trying to possibly deprive anybody from getting up onto the white stairs. Shotgun of Mute is actually not that unorthodox. We saw Skies from Obey yesterday running the Shotgun Mute. Puts you in a position where it's one of the best shotguns in the game.
Yes.
Obviously being pump action, the amount of montages I'm sure that smoke mains are able to create for all of their various content creator needs, getting those great pump kills, quite numerous. And of course Mute can play very similarly, playing in that the close quarter combat that you see Slash aiming to contest at the top of white stairs. Meanwhile, Astro, who typically is the opening and entry fragger for FaZe, has been doing quite a lot of heavy lifting with this drone work, giving intel to his team and trying to communicate as best he can. And the way that they were using Astro yesterday was not in your typical go in, find them, and kill them role, which is, like I said, part of those small little tweaks that FaZe has made to their roster, maybe to try and get more potential out of what is a very talented lineup.
So we're going to see FaZe make their way in towards the staff room and the open area, but the first big challenge that FaZe are going to have to deal with is gonna be this Mute with the shotgun. I'm really liking this position with the shotgun. It's very up close and personal, where you can just peek around, bam, gets the kill. That that could easily happen here, which I'm kind of predict that that's probably what we will see. Nade is going to get stopped by the ADS as well, so a lot of utility that Rogue are really putting in towards these stairs. Hatch is going to get opened up as well, but that's not really a big concern for the Mutants. He can still play on them stairs without being exposed to that drop hatch as well. So I'm liking the setup from Rogue. They've wasted 2 minutes already. FaZe have made no attempt to even try and attack Slash, because there is going to be a C4 on the top. Free him off that doorway as well.
So Mute having tons of usage here to stop anybody trying to get in. Mav will take point and he'll get shot at, but that's Geo getting very aggressive under the hatch. Now Mav is going to push up, but look at that. Slash a shot to the chest. That's game over for Mav. Cameraman's going to be next up. Astra takes out Eclipse, but the shotgun will fail there, and Cameraman getting the kill as they'll be able to push down now unabated. Rogue finding themselves in a 4v2. They'll silence their phones, but I like what FaZe has to offer. They've still got the Dokkaebi, they've still got the 2 smokes, Gohan with the fragging potential, and Cameraman might even have a nade or 2 left. I saw that he'd used one earlier on and has got eaten by the ADS. But good timing for Brian to be able to toss out those toxic babes. FaZe is just going to have to rush right in. They all drop the hatch. All 4 of FaZe are in, and this could get messy. Plant going down, but Brian and Easily jump in. They'll put us back to 2v2. Can Moringa be able to get the plant down? Ping's coming out. Moringa with a team kill, and there's only one left, and that's Moringa finished off by Easily, who will clutch the round. And what was an act of desperation from FaZe as they fired in, ill-advised, to just go guns a-blazing, take out one of your team, and then Rogue able to jump on the final member as Easily will clean it up, and that's Rogue taking a 3-1 lead.
It seems to be the same story for FaZe in their downstairs attacks, where they just cannot close out the final stages. Their room clear is very impressive. We've seen them take a lot more time compared to last time, but certainly Rogue, they played very well in their own game. They wasted a lot of utility and time. Brian played extremely well with the shotgun as well. Actually, I don't think it was Brian.
Slash.
Yeah, it was Slash, so that was very big on him. So yeah, it was a good round from Rogue. You can't really take it away from them. They're very excellent at retakes, which is exactly what they had to do. But FaZe, the fact that you go for the 4-man drop, it does work. Doesn't work this time. Doesn't work. More likely because of the TK, which can happen whenever all of you are just clustered together through smoke as well. And some players don't even play with the outlines as well, which is quite a big thing that has been a huge talking point. A lot of coaches don't like that to happen, because we have seen a lot more frequent TKs with Inside Siege during this past season as well.
A lot of that round goes solely to the time management of Rogue to keep FaZe from being able to push freely. The amount of time that Slash wasted on those stairs, as you mentioned, almost 2 minutes, that Mute took away from FaZe just by himself because of the trepidation from FaZe to get aggressive and try to fight the Mute. And even then, Slash was still able to take one down before he was felled by Cameraman. But when you've only got 10 to 15 seconds left, I called it an act of desperation. FaZe had to drop through the open hatch, and I mean, yeah, they were at a 4v2, and that could have been a potential C4 away from certain death for them. Also could have been a totally different circumstance if the team kill hadn't come out, because it would have been a 2v1 in FaZe's advantage.
10 seconds
We can play hypotheticals all day. Slash doing an excellent job of wasting time and using everything that he really had at his disposal. 2 mute jammers, 1 thing of barbed wire, a C4, as well as an ADS. That's quite an investment in one particular area, but if all of that can, if all of that can keep you sheltered on site for 2 full minutes, then, you know, I think you can put that in the win column for Rogue, and in terms of actual score, they did. So we're in the final round here. Before the first half, we'll switch over. FaZe could find themselves trailing 4-1. That's not a circumstance that they want to be in on a map that FaZe is quite proficient on. The very first loss that Evil Genius has suffered, if I remember correctly, in international play on Bank was to FaZe, in which they were absolutely annihilated at the 6th Invitational. So this is a map that we know FaZe is very, very strong on, and as good as Rogue may be, you want to keep it close for the Brazilians.
Yeah, certainly FaZe have a lot of experience with this particular map, but let's not count out Rogue in their Bank play. They performed very well the last time. A notable time whenever they played Bank, and it played it extremely well, was DreamHack Valencia against Team Secret, where they 6-1'd them as well. So even Rogue do have some formidable past matches on Bank. So looking at the way ROUGE are setting up, they're going for a very heavy anchor. There's a lot of ROUGE guys inside of the bomb sites, which typically we haven't seen so far. Inside Bank, we've seen more of a strong roam game where they try and waste as much utility as they can. But this time they've decided to extend themselves in towards the Archives area. So this could be a big advantage if FaZe aren't ready for these rumors, or it could be a big disadvantage because you're giving a player like Gohan a complete line of sight into the bomb site where he can just start tapping heads and do what Gohan does. So certainly this has to be a big round from Eclipse as the Valkyrie inside of Archives. If he gets the kill on to Gohan, this could potentially be ROUGE's round, and they could lead into the switch 4 rounds to 1.
The first kill is going to go to Moringa as the Thermite from above, looking through all those open holes inside of Janitorial Closet. We'll find the Bandit, an operator that we've actually just seen emerge for the first time, and obviously Bandit tricking the wall, or rather just laying down those electric charges to keep the hard destruction at bay. Once again, time management being a big thing. Eclipse peeks Moringa, and you really should not have necessarily done that. That's a free kill for Moringa through the hatch, and FaZe in a 5v3 at the moment. Final logic bomb will go off. Geo playing around that deployable shield, and Mav will find Big Bri. It's a 5v2, and the claws of FaZe will tighten, trying to keep their grip on ROUGE. You can see some marks going down as Mav takes out Geo, but Slash is the only person on ROUGE to be able to get a kill, and he will need to ace clutch. Obviously, something that with the UMP is very, very difficult. Of course, the Valkyrie cameras as well as the Evil Eye in sight will be able to mark away at everybody. That's going to help him an awful lot, but I mean, you know how little damage that UMP does, and Slash's position is given away. His only opportunity is to drop through the hatchet, which all 4 members of FaZe will be staring at. Gohan sees just a sliver of Slash and will be able to complete the round. FaZe loses the first half 3-2 in favor of ROUGE, but still at the same time they kept it close enough and avoided getting blown out in that 4-1 scoreline.
So once again, we see the aggression from FaZe come out in the early game. They take what they want. They know exactly where they want to be in position. This time ROUGE, they didn't have that same roam presence that we've seen time and time again, where they've been able to catch members of FaZe by surprise. We did see a little bit of extension into the Archives area from the bomb site. I potentially would have liked to see a bit of a roam game upstairs in towards the CEO office. It just makes FaZe waste more time. It makes them use more utility, and whenever you can pick up the Vigil who's not banned, that could be pretty big as well. So this is going to be the switch. So we're going to see ROUGE's attacking rounds, and then FaZe, they're going to be in the defense. And starting things off, we will be having a lockers and CCTV room, and Slash is also going to bring the Jackal, which I am a big fan of on this map.
This is the map that I think we see the most Jackal play on, statistically, just because of its size. It's still trying to figure out if Bank is the official largest map in all of Pro League. I believe it is, but I'm sure if there's somebody saying that it's not, I will be corrected pretty quickly. ROUGE is a very strong strategy involving open area that involves a Mira, but of course with Mira being banned, that makes it very difficult for them to replicate that, and adding Maestro into the mix is, he can be not a substitute for Mira, but the best option you have. And we've seen a lot of teams just simply reinforce a wall and slap an Evil Eye on it the same way that you would a Mira window, but that necessitates communicating or being on a camera to get that intel, whereas a Mira window, it's just immediate. You are standing behind that window, you can see right through it. You don't need to do the same amount of coordination or possible juggling of getting on and off your camera to figure out exactly what's on the other side of that Evil Eye. But for FaZe, that was a very strong round from them. Now, ROUGE did get a bit too aggressive and peeked them, which were able to put FaZe in a much stronger position. But the way that they coalesced around the site and then boxed ROUGE out is great. Mav having a great degree of difficulty, speaking of, trying to get a camera in there, but I think he's just going to say, heck it. Not sure if he thinks that maybe his Valkyrie cameras are broken. Who knows? But Mav still trying to just set up and gather more information for his team.
Yeah, so that certainly does lead us to believe that they're going to try and go for retakes potentially with the Valkyrie cameras. That's the big significant advantage of putting them inside open area. Is it's the most commonly retake strategy for teams is whenever the plant does go down inside of the server room, then you simply rotate and use the hatches against the attackers in that circumstance. Rogue are going to be entering in through the main lobby. Typically, we would see more of the skylight area being attacked by members of the attacking team, but no, they're going to try and go for the lobby, probably knowing that, yeah, there's nobody in here. We have drones set up in the prep phase, so certainly this is going to be another option that they can go for. All they really need to do is get it droned, know if there's any rumors, get rid of the rumors, and then just watch the angles and hold the flanks. That's one of the biggest things in Bank you have to do, is watch that main stairs, because that is exactly where every defender is going to want to get their hands on and climb right on up and then kill you from the flank.
It doesn't appear that any member of FaZe is on either the first floor or on either the first floor or the second floor. They all appear to be in the basement at the moment. You've got the Jaeger who was playing on those server stairs, who will fall off now as he's going to get droned out. Also some Jackal tracks to try and maybe catch the Jaeger as he's moving, but not entirely certain. One of the exothermic charges, as you can see, was used to open up the hatch inside of that CEO office, or the teller's office, my apologies, and then another one will be used to get that skylight stairwell hatch too. So that will exhaust, or my apologies, it actually looks like they didn't reinforce. It doesn't look like they reinforced that hatch. Mav will toss up a C4 as there's still one exothermic charge left for the thermite, which means that there's still an option here available for where they want to use that, and that will give easily a lot of power to possibly even open up one of those walls on the site and start the plant process. Obviously a lot more difficult for the defenders without a Mira or an Echo, but still definitely doable. First kill is going to go to Astro, and that will be Eclipse removed from the equation.
Yeah, good stuff from Astro into the back of the server. Wasted more time for Rogue, but will get refragged by Geometrics, as he is going to just go for the last minute drone, figure out exactly where these last remaining defenders are going to be located, as it will be easily getting rid of that reinforced wall. They can start going in for the plant. Still 2 gas canisters on the side of FaZe. Also the Maestro cameras are going to be up as well, so this is looking pretty strong for FaZe. E1D will be expanded, so all members of FaZe are going to have to stop, and it will be the Maestro camera getting shut down. Another smoke canister does go out as Gohan gets one. Map also got one, but then we will see the refrag from Slash, but that's going to be no more time for Rogue, and it will be FaZe taking that defending round for the first time on Bank.
A good start to their defense. Of course, with CCTV, you're expected to win that on your defensive setup. Now, obviously, those odds might go down without the Mirror and the Echo, as I pointed out. But speaking of time management earlier on in the game, not exactly the best for Rogue. We could see from our perspective that all 5 of the bodies for FaZe were condensed downstairs in and around the site. The most, I suppose, roaming player, the player that was roaming the most, was the Jaeger that was positioned on the stairs looking into server, which is still pretty close to site, especially as a 3-speed, you can get back real fast. Rogue weren't able either to put all that together, or they just weren't able to execute as cleanly as they wanted to, because they were a victim of the clock, and they might not have dropped the hatch like FaZe did, but that was very reminiscent of exactly what happened with FaZe when they all dropped and, well, time just simply ran out. For FaZe, though, you now have to go to a site that is not quite as easy to defend as where you just were. So that is a fighting chance for Rogue, but for FaZe, they managed to tighten it up. And that was a pretty convincing defensive round for FaZe, if I do say so. So they'll head to, it appears, Teller's Archives on the main floor. Won't be opting for CEO, which is a site that is more common in North America and to a lesser extent Europe. But Latin America does typically seem to favor this Teller's Archives as their preferred second site. And we'll see if FaZe can string 2 together on defense.
I certainly do agree with the Tellers and Archives over the top floor, mostly because there's no Mira, which is the big operator that you need to make that top floor work, which is why I believe Rogue did struggle with that top floor, as they didn't have the same intel gathering and the chokeholds and potential refrags that you can get with a Mira. But certainly going for the mid floor has its advantages, but also has its disadvantages, as you do open yourself up to a lot of destructibility from above. And whenever Rogue do bring a sledge to the table in the form of Eclipse, and even Slash with his secondary shotgun can do a lot of hard work. That's why I do like the pickup of the Jackal, is because he just provides so much utility. He can hunt roamers, he can fry because he's a great gun, also has the smoke canisters, which it seemed to be, they're not giving the smoke canisters out as much as they did, but certainly having that utility aspect for your Jackal is a big deciding factor for a map like Bank.
Unfortunately, the biggest counter that you find to those smokes on attack is will be the Evil Eyes, those bulletproof cameras that Maestro gets 2 of if he remains unbanned, depending on whether your team has opted to take out Mirror or possibly an Echo. That Evil Eye can ping, or well, not actually ping, but can at least tell you through the smoke where the attackers are. And that's an advantage that the smoke gives you that is taken away. Now, speaking of those Evil Eyes, the one Evil Eye that had been situated in the lobby is gone. And Clips will use one of his 2 frag grenades to make sure that the Evil Eye can do no damage and can give no calls. It was positioned looking towards Tellers. Cameraman will start things off. And speaking of that Jackal with the 2 smokes, no more. Those will go unused as the Jackal gets eliminated within the first minute. And that was some vertical play, a nice vertical play. As a counter push here will come from Rogue as they use the EE1D just to keep FaZe all neat and completely still.
So Rogue are going to attempt to go for an A take, it seems to be, as they've already geared up ready. They have the flank coverage, as typically we do not see anybody go ahead and shoot open in towards that loan office area. You would only do that if you're going to watch the flanks for this particular take. Cameraman playing inside of the corner can get caught out very easy, but that's actually going to be easily getting caught out as he will stand up to the counter, expose himself, and Cameraman will shut him down. So Thermite gone for Rogue. What a big kill, as that is going to be all of the hard destruction that Rogue could have gotten is going to be out of the game.
So Geo will pick up one onto Gohan, and Cameraman managed to get away because Brian showed a bit of hesitation. The Lion, who was playing by that Teller's desk in the main lobby, was not able to get there in time, but he will secure a kill onto Cameraman, and that is the Bandit gone as Cameraman had rotated. So Brian waiting to see if somebody's going to bother to peek from open area. As you can see from our perspective, we know that there's somebody in there, but the reality is, when will they decide to push? 30 seconds left. You're in a stage right now where Rogue is going to need to execute. You said it was going to be an A take. Eclipse is working his way down the main stairs. They have that open wall. Brian trying to get into the site as he hits the barbed wire, but 2 from FaZe as they are there, prepared for the transition. Geo walks right in. He'll take out 1 kill, waiting to see if somebody's going to push from open area. You can hear the telltale shots of the MP5. Geo works his way in. He sees the dock. No revive available, but you will have to frag out. Astro just needs to survive, and Geo will shoot a lifeline. No chance to get that diffuser and go for a plant. Astro hides, plays it perfectly on the stairs. Great teamwork from FaZe to take a situation that went bad real fast and still manage to stick the landing, and they'll put their second defensive round into the win column.
A big misstep for Easily on the Thermite, being exposed by the Bandit. It just shows that you really need to do your droning on bank. It's such a big map where there's so many different little tiny corners that you need to worry about. So certainly Rogue, they need to focus more on their droning. Sure, they had a great setup where they could go for that A take. That probably could have worked because it was farther away than what the roamers in open area could really adapt to, and whenever they had the flank coverage with the Lion, that would have been great. You seen there was 2 guys over towards that open area side, so having in that flank coverage along with the push in really does make FaZe have to spread out their utility, try and go for retakes above. But whenever they have Eclipse upstairs as well, who's covering the flanks, everything could have worked for Rogue, but because they just had that one mistake, not droning out the Bandit, it just ruined the entire attack.
Unfortunately for them, not just the utility gone from the Thermite, but also a very competent fragger and player. Losing Easily, obviously, is a unfortunate, as I believe we said, play for them to find themselves in. And FaZe managed to win a round despite the fact that Geo, with his best efforts, came so close to closing that gap. We do see an open area defense now for FaZe, so they will use their 3rd site here on rotation, and they will avoid that CEO office, as was mentioned. They don't really typically go there. As a region, they don't really see a lot of play. Upstairs, they'll usually go for the 1st floor or the basement. CCTV will unlock at the conclusion of this round, where we will probably see FaZe go back to once again.
5 seconds remaining.
So FaZe are going to be having this heavy room presence. I'm liking these couple of Valkyrie cameras being chucked up by Mav. It gives them that early intel. It shows them exactly where Rogue are going to try and attempt to push from. It tells them exactly what side of the roof primarily they want to try and come from. So having that extra intel does allow the roamers to adapt, to see where they need to rotate to hold up their anchor positions in and about the other rooms that may be scattered beside that open area. So I do like the pickup. Rogue are going to more or less try and do the same thing, where they like to take from the open area, get all the drones in, which they certainly are doing a lot more, as It is going to be one guy on the side of FaZe who will be spotted inside of the open area, so Eclipse does have to be careful of Moringa lurking, who could peek out at any single stage. We do see a little bit of an upstairs hold as well coming out from FaZe, so this is going to allow Rogue to really think about where they want to try and push from. Eclipse is going to get the kill onto Cameraman, as that is going to be the early advantage for Rogue, is exactly what they need. They still have their sledge alive as well, so he can start coming in, start ripping up the floor, and potentially get some quick frags onto the member of FaZe who may be still inside off the bomb site.
And Rogue doesn't know this, but the 4 remaining members of FaZe are all on the main floor. Astro and Mav situated by the A-bomb, Gohan by the B-bomb, and Moringa playing in the elevator. So they have no real, I suppose, obstacle to greet them up top, unless Mav decides to go for a possible C4 kill, or you get Astro going through the floor. Slash will grab the intel as he hacks the cams, one of Dokabee's abilities, in conjunction with her phone call, snaps her fingers, and now has all the information. Because there is a Valkyrie and 2 Evil Eyes, this is particularly strong, and Cameraman's early death will mean that for the next 75 seconds or so, Rogue will have all that information at their fingertips. Astro falls as he was playing inside of the site, but Mav will be able to trade off easily to have just gotten the kill, and that's Diffuser down as well. Through the open hatch, a good shot from Mav in order to force Rogue to now have to rotate to pick up the Diffuser, which Eclipse will do.
Yeah, good plays from Rogue getting ready for this final take. We did see the quick refrag, so that does give FaZe a little bit of a fighting chance, but not a whole lot to work with still. Moringa is going to be lurking inside of the elevators. Eclipse just watching the flanks, just being careful that somebody may want to rotate up the main stairs. I'm liking this angle from Moringa. It really does make Rogue think about where they're going to try and push into, but the plant will come in momentarily as gas canisters will get thrown out with the smoke. And that will be the quick plant going down. E1D as well does get put in, so the members of FaZe have to play musical statues, as that will be the phone call that forces Maestro off of his cameras as well, as Mav and Gohan are going to be stuck inside of the staff room area. Geo gets the kill onto Mav. Moringa is going to come out of his hiding hole. And let's see if Rogue can hold this, or will FaZe be able to go for the retake. Gohan had to turn his phone off momentarily, as Moringa is going to be lurking upstairs, and this is what we were talking about with Rogue. They need to hold these angles. I'm surprised that Eclipse still isn't up there, as he will get punished for that, as it does allow Slash to get killed by Moringa. Gohan's going to push in, going to attempt to go forward to defuse, but will get shut down by Brian, and Geo will get the final kill onto Moringa, and Rogue do pull around back.
The coordination to get that Dokkaebi call to get Meister off of his cam is the kind of thing that you need the foresight to not use both of those phone calls recklessly. And the fact that Rogue was able to keep that call in their pocket, quite literally, and get the call off, that was huge. And you could see that the moment that they went on the Maestro cam to start shocking away at the planter and give that intel, possibly to Moringa or possibly to Mav, well, they were able to take that right away from them by, in the final 25 to 30 seconds, having that logic bomb available. Pulls Meister off his cams, as you said. One of the beauties of Echo is that he doesn't get the phone call from Dokkaebi, so he can't get knocked off of his yokai drones. But Maestro, you're susceptible to being hacked, and you're also susceptible to being knocked off of the Evil Eye, Valkyrie cameras, or default cameras, if you happen to be on any of those.
But then again, that may be why we're seeing Rogue ban out that Echo, is because of that very reason. Of course, like you did point out, Echo does not get affected by Dokkaebi. He did block her number after some past, believe it, dives. Then we're diving into the Rainbow Six. What was the word for that?
It's lore.
Yeah, lore. A lore for Rainbow Six Siege. Who'd have funked it? Huh? Who'd have funked it?
I just don't care about lore. I don't care. No, Echo and Dokkaebi dated at one point. Oh, cool, great. Or Ying and Echo or whoever dated. Great. Give me operators. Give me balanced operators. I don't really care about their backstory. I'm a pretty simple man. Just give me balanced operators. I don't really care about anything else.
As long as you have your Monster and Red Bull, you're happy.
I mean, at the same time, sounds like too much. Sounds like it's excessive. You could drink both of them. Well, mix them together.
You can't be as excessive as Canadians, though. Who literally showers in Monster. Loves that green goodness.
Oh god, imagine how sticky that would be. Like you shower in like a sugary drink. Ugh!
We should get a GoFundMe for that.
Awful. After the tactical pause, we'll see if Rogue are able to possibly use that to their advantage to close this out. And interesting that they will take the tactical pause when all tied up. I mean, let's say they do lose this round, you take a tactical pause on match point. it might not work. This is as good a time as ever to possibly do.
So ROUGE are going to be bringing a bit of a different setup. They have more universal tools compared to the last time they attacked the bottom floor. They have the Dokkaebi this time along with the Lion, so both of the universal ops are going to be chosen. They work great together. That's typically why we do see, that's why we see one of them being banned out for the most part, but then we usually do see the other one slip away. Typically it's Lion being banned out more than Dokkaebi, but in these cases ROUGE is going to be able to take both of them. So this more or less screams to me that they're going to go for the same server push with the Thermite. They have the Thatcher this time to get rid of EMPs, but FaZe, they're going to be bringing this Alibi for the first time. She is going to come out to play with her decoys, with her projections, and that's going to make ROUGE think twice before they start popping heads inside of the open area. Probably one of the best areas that Alibi can be used. Whenever Alibi did release, I thought, yeah, open area is going to be really good to use these because there's a lot of tables, and typically players do like to hide about, and you can use that House of Mirrors kind of strategy that that was talked about whenever she was revealed, the way you can use the different projectors to your advantage.
Yeah. And right now, FaZe investing very heavily in that open area. We can see that ROUGE trying to work their way in through that little supply closet down by the alley. Eclipse will join the rest of his team. He's there with both Brian and Easily. Going to see if they're going to be able to get any of that information. We haven't really seen a lot of focus on the garage, which is where Slash happens to be right now. It typically isn't an area where you see teams push in as of late because of the Maestro cams, because of possibly Yokai drones, or possibly because of Valkyrie cameras. That's a lot of information, and of course the garage is such a long piece of real estate that by the time you get to the end of it, they've usually found you out. So we'll see what they're able to make here now as Slash can work his way in, but he's basically solo entrying at the moment as Lion, and he hasn't even really entered yet. He's just playing by the back of the cop car to see if anybody's going to bother to push out.
So half the round already gone for ROUGE. They're going to have to start making their way in towards the server. They haven't even dealt with the rumor still, as Mav and Cameraman are still going to be located upstairs. Brian is going to be on his drones looking to see where some potential players may be on the flank, as Easily has got himself inside of the server room along with his teammates as well. Exo Thermite charge will be placed and detonated. 1E1D will go out as well, just to slow the pace of the round so far. Let's ROUGE recalibrate where they want to go from. And as you do see as well, the hatch is going to be open from the open area that FaZe did open themselves. This is going to be detrimental for ROUGE, as Mav playing that hatch does get the kill. Eclipse is going to take up that same position in his dead teammate's body, waiting for the peek from a member of FaZe, as that phone call did come out. Eclipse does see the angle, but Mav is going to get the better of that, as Eclipse will get dropped. 30 seconds ago, Cameraman gets himself a kill onto Brian, who tried to challenge them roamers, as Geometrics will then have to come upstairs as well. So this is crumbling at the seams for ROUGE. A quick punch hole, and does get tagged as well. He is dashing around, trying to see if he can get the kill. Legion Mine as well goes off, and also the phone call's gonna come out. What is this? What are you doing, Geo, as Astro gets the kill? Slash, last fun in Garage, and this is almost definitely going to be a FaZe great kill from Slash there on the Moringa, the quick flick, but not enough time. A great play from FaZe, using that hatch to the best of their advantage. So an excellent round coming out from FaZe. ROUGE, I had no idea what ROUGE were attempting there, where they tried to really force the server push, but if you do not have the control of the hatches, or you don't have control of any of that mid floor, then it is simple for FaZe Clan to simply play the hatches or go for the retake that we've talked about so much, that we know a map like Bank does provide a lot of main stairs, flank coverage as well, so there's a lot to work with on them particular strategies. So I don't know the thinking that ROUGE tried to place in. So we will be heading into a teller's office and archives as well. Jaeger, Maestro, Bandit, Doc, Smoke is going to be the lineup for FaZe to hopefully close out this round for themselves to move on into map 2. But certainly it is going to be a long haul inside of this round, and knowing ROUGE, they're probably going to take this to overtime as well.
I would imagine it would be that close, yeah, between the two of them. This is the close contest that we expected, though, to be fair. So, FaZe, all they have to do is win one round to get them to the next map. By no means an easy
job, especially against Rogue. But you're looking at the confidence that FaZe has started to build up. They've got their fraggers playing really well. Rogue, they have had a lot more stupid mistakes in my eyes compared to the members of FaZe, which is certainly something that me and Kix touched upon inside the Norengo, plus Team Vitality, where just tiny mistakes really does cost a lot of teams these potential victory rounds. So certainly FaZe, they have to think about what they're doing to make sure they close it out and really punish Rogue for these little mistakes that they are making.
And what's been a very defender-sided contest, you know, so far. We headed out through like the first stretch with Rogue taking 3 of the 5, and we thought to ourselves like, oh yeah, you know, this is Rogue doing really, really well. But right now at the moment, FaZe has now taken 3 of the 4 and are in a position where, as long as they can hold on a site that they've already won, this is theirs in the bag before we go to Clubhouse.
So it is going to be FaZe having this more maneuverable roam game where they're creating these connectors to spread out in between the open areas. You did see the Bailiff being used to great use with the Maestro, so they're having then this same kind of extended bomb site almost, where it is going to be another angle they have to worry about, but then also equally another angle Rogue have to worry about, as they will be entering in towards the main lobby. This seems to be the exact same setup that they attempted to go for last time. Easily was the big factor who did not survive that initial push in, where he didn't even get to use his thermite charges because of the lone cameraman sitting in the corner, or in the corner to the site. So certainly FaZe, they know what Rogue are going to have planned, I'm sure, because you would have heard some shots rattle out in between the skylight area if they were going to try and go for that push. So certainly I'm sure FaZe will be ready for this collapse onto the Rogue attack.
You're going to have one of these 2 C4s that are on site in both the Pulse as well as the Bandit's hand used to try to take out Eclipse. But Mav isn't really in a position to do much with it. There's an E1D that will go off. A phone call had also been used earlier. They're trying to track Gohan, but Eclipse just narrowly being evaded by Gohan. Here we go. Mav will throw the C4 up, and that's a kill onto Geo. A great play by the Pulse, who was playing on the server stairs to work his way back towards the site. Give us just about a minute left here, but it's Eclipse and Slash upstairs who will be a bit disconnected from the push. As long as they can create a lot of discomfort for FaZe, then they can do their job from above, and maybe Slash could even be able to toss one of those smokes down through the open holes that the Sledgehammer's been able to create, providing the ADSs have been taken care of.
Potentially, I could have liked to see a rotate coming out from Mav. He knows he just killed their flank coverage from Rogue, so certainly it could have been a good opportunity that the Pulse could have went for, go for the flanks. But nonetheless, that's going to be the last E1D being used. Brian does see a figure, but doesn't manage to land the head through the poles off the stairs. Slash is going to take up position as well upstairs, along with Eclipse, who is still slashing the floor. 30 seconds to go. This is going to be down to the wire.
And here we have it, as the 1 exothermic charge will be used, and the open hole will be greeted by a Toxic Babe. The Sledge playing above of Eclipse, being taken out by Cameraman, who has now worked his way upstairs, so Cameraman has come out on a flank out of nowhere to take all this away from Rogue. Slash will join his fellow cohorts, but Gohan with 2 big kills will leave Slash last man standing. 4v1, but Cameraman from above, proving to be an excellent rotate. Map number 1 will go in favor of FaZe by a score of 6-4. Crazy to think that we were a little, you know, bullish on FaZe's odds to start things off, and hey, they were able to stick through it, and they took 4 of the final 5 rounds.
Yeah, very slow start from FaZe, but whenever they get that momentum behind them, you can see that they certainly do just steamroll through and do get that victory. Slash on 10 kills, the best for his team. Mav on 10 kills as well, a very good showing from him. Gohan, 5 kills, maybe not as what we were expecting, but still nonetheless he did what he needed to do and did it well. So it'll be interesting to see how Clubhouse will unfold and really how, I would say, Rogue have to get their mindset.
Yeah, I mean, this for me, if I'm FaZe, I'm going into the next map very confident. You know, we know that both these teams are good. You remarked that Rogue obviously beaten Team Secret on Bank. Both these teams are very well practiced. Their map pools are large enough that they should be confident on basically any map they can go to, except maybe Villa, but that's just because Villa is still very new to the map pool. But outside of this, if I'm FaZe, I feel pretty good. You know, you didn't have Gohan doing a monstrous job like he did yesterday, killing every single person. Mav actually top fragged. But FaZe as a whole, they were supporting each other. You saw Gohan finish with 7 assists, playing largely support and or anchor-based operators. That's huge for his team, and that flexibility that FaZe has as possibly one of the most flexible Brazilian teams. That's what's really been the difference as to why FaZe has been able to be as good as they are. Issues at LAN and consistency on LAN aside. As for ROUGE, man, there were some, you know, you called them stupid mistakes, I think. There were a couple chances where ROUGE just did not need to do things they did. Peeking hatches when they really shouldn't have been. Lack of drone coordination when they really needed to do that. And that was one thing that FaZe was doing so well, was there were so many drones out all the time from FaZe. At one point, it seemed like 4 members were all droning midway through the round. Good drone economy, and obviously that communication and that coordination is going to take you quite far, and it gets them the first win on map number 1.
Yeah, big bit of adaptation for FaZe that really did see them over the finish line. So we're certainly going to have to see how Clubhouse will unfold, which is a map which is all about adapting to your strategies, because all bomb sites are viable. Just like Bank, we did see every single bomb site, and I'm sure we will probably see the same again on Clubhouse as well. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how that will play out. I don't expect to see the barn stock as much compared to the other 3, but certainly we're going to have a good mix of strategies, and it will be interesting to see how each team do go about attacking the different bomb sites.
Yeah, barn stock, I don't know if we've seen it yet at the Paris Major. I don't believe so.
Don't recall.
It's been pulled out a couple times in Pro League, most notably North America. But I mean, it's not a, frankly, no, it's not a good site. When you've got the other 3,
yeah.
you don't need to play anything. You can just cycle through. You know, you can cycle through CCTV cache upstairs. Then you can go to Master Gym, and you can go downstairs to Church and Arsenal. You don't need to possibly say, well, let's go to the main floor. Because I think it's a pretty big drop-off after those 3 to the 4th site of Barstock. If you want to compare it to like maybe a map like Oregon, where both Tower and Kitchen are nowhere near as good as kids' dorms and laundry supply, at least those 2 sites have seen repeated success. Since we have seen this new Clubhouse rework, Barstock is kind of a wash. It's not great. You don't really want to go to it. So with Bank ending up being as defender-sided as it is, usually we would see the same from Clubhouse. If this is going to be a defensive-sided struggle, it's going to be very important that the teams nail their operator picks and bans correctly. Of course, the operators they pick in action, and then the ones that they ban, and ROUGE will get the first ban, or ROUGE, rather, will get the first ban.
What was that? ROUGE? Oh yeah, I see it. Okay, yeah.
En français. So, it's,
yeah, we are in France, of course. So
we are, and they do happen to speak French, and Thermite will be their ban. Now, this is interesting because a lot of times, as Wilkie pointed out yesterday, since DreamHack Valencia, teams have been banning Hibana because it's much easier to impact trick the exothermic charge of Thermite. But now Thermite being banned and Glass being banned means that we're going to rely a lot on Hibana, which means that the downstairs holds might be even more difficult, but the upstairs holds might be a lot easier because her 3x Kairos rounds don't open up as big of a hole in the wall as the exothermic charge does.
No, essentially banning that Thermite forces the enemy team into going for that Hibana, like you said, who doesn't create the bigger holes inside of the Thermite walls, typically such as the balcony at Cache. Also the Jacuzzi is another big one, but certainly being able to get open all of the 3 hatches downstairs does play into the favor of a Hibana, which is typically why we see earlier, I just want to take back to Team Vitalia and Norengo, where we did see the Hibana being banned on that occasion, and then for the downstairs attacks, we've seen a lot more Thermite plus Montagne kind of play. So yeah, certainly having that Hibana does force away from that kind of slower pace play style.
We'll start off in Gym Bedroom. I'm curious to see what FaZe tries to do with the Montaigne, because we saw them try to use him a couple times on Bank. Didn't really work at all. And after 3 rounds, they realized, After 1 round, actually, they said, they picked him for the next 2, and then 6 picked off of him. But this time, they're going to 6 pick on IQ, which means that the Monty is going to stick around. And on Gym Bedroom, there's narrow corridors for him to get through, especially construction, possibly even push him in. If you can get that Jacuzzi wall open up enough, you could possibly push him in through there and then, try to isolate the person playing in bathroom. Once again, you have Gohan doing that. I'm interested to see what they do with him, because usually the path that Amonte will take is to work their way through the garage and then possibly get inside a cache and then just continue pushing from there. That's going to be something for me to watch. And like I said, it's already a very defender-sided map. We don't have to deal with Smoke nor Mira. So those are two pretty big operators that are going to be off the board. And immediately, Roguelike's running Echo. Here's Echo. Their coach, Ranger, has said that Echo might already have too much utility as he stands. And on Clubhouse, happens to be one of the few maps where the Supernova is brought out in place of the MP5.
Yeah, that's mostly due to the fact that Smoke did get banned out, so you don't have that same destructibility factor with the Smoke shotgun. And it's quite interesting to see both the Mira and the Smoke being banned out. You can't really get a better combo than both of them operators, so getting rid of both of them really does hinder both of the defenses. But FaZe, they did ban out that Smoke, so they're going to be at more of an advantage getting these early leads on the attack if they can push through. And it really does fit into the better playstyle whenever you're taking these shield operators where smoke canisters are the biggest counter to your Montagne. Of course, Legion can do similar, but not really that big of an impact because it only does 8 damage a tick compared to the huge damage that smoke canisters can do. So certainly this is going to be more of a rogue battle in these early stages compared to what FaZe then have to do if they do get into, you know, a 3-2 in favor of FaZe, and then they have to go on the defenses. So it certainly could switch into Rogue's favor after these first 5 rounds.
Gio's going to get spotted playing inside of Logistics office. He's also got an ADS there. Slash will join him. He has a shotgun as well as the Bearing 9 and will try to go for the shotgun onto Gohan. Deals a substantial amount of damage. Gohan will lose about 60% of his health or so. But Gio's just waiting to see if somebody is going to try to circle. Faked rip to the Nitro Cell. Bandit Nitro Cell is something that we have seen a bit more of as of late. After Bandit, of course, lost his 3rd barbed wire, he'll fake the rip again, and this sound is very obvious. Slash will waste himself as Moringa with the Bearing 9, both with the Bearing 9 out, but it will be Moringa who wins that fight, and he is next to no HP. Take a look at Gohan, Moringa, and Astro right now.
Yeah, certainly on pretty low health there, and like we talked about, Rogue peeking these hatches, doing these silly mistakes that are going to cost them rounds. It cost them rounds in bank, so why do it again on Clubhouse? Yeah, sure, you might want to get an early lead and an advantage, but it has severely hindered you because you've lost your Echo drones, and that is going to be your only denial for the Montagne, where if the plant does go down, that is going to be the only way that you can stop it. So certainly a big misplay for Rogue. Equally, we did see the Dokkaebi getting taken out as well, so that's going to be an operator for FaZe off the board. But certainly we can still see the Montagne drop, but gets killed by Gio. Did he just drop his shield?
I don't know exactly what the reasoning was behind that, but Gohan drops and loses his shield. Obviously not very happy about that, as you can see. Cameraman will buck through the soft wall and possibly go for a kill into that closet. It will go off as they have, of course, destroyed or at least taken care of the ADS on the other side of it. But Gio had scooted away. We've only got 20 seconds left in this first round here on Clubhouse, and FaZe Clan has taken a beating so far, and that will continue as Gio punishes Moringa, leaving just Cameraman and Mav left. And make that just Mav, as Cameraman will fall to easily. The LMG tears right through him. Mav gets a kill on the Big Brian, looks for a second, but these are impactless frags as Mav does grab a second, but can't get through the window into the building, can't get the diffuser, can't get a plant. No, sir. Rogue with round number 1.
Yeah, Rogue do start things off similar fashion to what they did do on Bite, taking the first round. But certainly, looking at the way that Rogue played that, silly mistake in the start, but then FaZe, the big choke from the Montagne just dropping down. We did try and see the potential nade come out from the Buck after Montagne had died. Why not do that? Whenever Montagne is dropping, you go for them frag grenades that makes Gio panic. It makes him either take the nade and die, or he runs out into the line of sight of Montagne, where then he can give the call out for another member to drop and shoot Gio as he runs away from the door. So certainly that was more of a FaZe choke than I would say Rogue in the earlier beginning, but nonetheless, Rogue, they get a good start, but I'm sure FaZe will get a couple more rounds. I don't expect to see this going for a whitewash in favor of Rogue.
I don't know exactly what Gohan was thinking dropping the way he did. Had they not even bothered to drone out the fact that Gio was playing there, because Gohan dropped and I mean, he was somewhat facing Geo, but at the same time, that was really, none of that really should have happened with him dropping that shield, unless it was unintentional. Maybe it was a simple misclick or a fat finger and he just missed his gadget button. Who knows? That's something that we can obviously ask them about after the match is finished. For the time being, it looks like a pretty substantial misplay and caused Geo to not only get a kill, but a very high priority kill onto the shield operator that could have boxed Geo in, or it could have been used to work their way through those single doors to get into Master while the rest of the push from FaZe was coming through construction, which is where we saw Cameraman eventually wound up. Who knows exactly? Easily was there, and he played really well in the dying couple seconds and just left Mav in a position where he couldn't get into the actual site. So unfortunate for FaZe to start things off that way, but as we said, it is a more defender-sided matchup, so this is to be expected, and Master is a site that, along with CCTV, does typically see the defenders win, whereas the downstairs isn't quite as much of a bunker as it used to be. It's definitely one of the weaker sites now. So Master going in favor of the defense, not really that strange. We'll head back into the game, though, and Rogue up 1-0.
So Church and Arsenal Room is where Rogue will be headed. We know that that gym and bedroom is going to be locked out for them for at least 2 rounds. Or even if they do win this, this potential bomb site, then they can go ahead and they have to go for the cash as well. So it's good getting that early gym and bedroom start, which is always good, because looking at compared to the cash and the server, it's probably, I would say, weaker compared to cash in my opinion. I don't know if that may be what you think, but certainly for me, I favor the cash over any other bomb site on Clubhouse.
I think CCTV cash is usually what would be described as most teams' #1 site to defend, and I mean, that's pretty standard, especially if Maestro still remains in action. He's usually a pretty powerful operator on that site. Coupled with either a Mute or a Jaeger, we'll usually see a lot of defense that will set up inside of the garage at the very top, in between all those metal slats and the metal railings, usually either with a Mute Jammer or maybe an ADS or 2. You know, and that's where you'll play. You'll reinforce all the garage, and as Wilkie pointed out yesterday, the biggest focus of a CCTV defense is usually to ensure that you don't lose garage control, because once you lose garage control, they have usually a clear line of sight through to the window that goes out to the little balcony over top of the kennels area, and then they can possibly hold off a rotation from the stairs as well. It's a very powerful position to be. Whereas when you're defending Gym and Master side, your investment usually needs to be in the construction side of things and in the office, but you don't have that same mobility that having the garage for CCTV and cash gives you. And that's why I think we do see a lot of teams prefer the CCTV and cache as the #1 bomb site. Absolutely. That's likely where I'm expecting Rogue to go to as the second site, possibly to the basement. It really depends on where they feel more comfortable. The addition of the stairs into blue, of course, has made holding that part of the basement a much bigger hindrance for the defenders and allowed attackers to, you know, possibly clear out blue, and then you can put some pressure on Church, and really at that point the defense are kind of pinned down in Arsenal. It's really tough.
Yeah, also you could talk about the addition of that blue stairs. Great rotation for the defenders, which they never had previously.
Right.
Looking at the way some teams have played it, it's been a big rotation point where a lot of attackers just forget it's there sometimes, and usually the defenders retake it really well, and they are able to move their way in towards the stock and try and kill somebody who may be lurking inside of the corridor using the doorways that you do have at your disposal, or even just simply pushing in the bar, getting the quick kills onto a Firma who may be on his drone at this stage. So certainly the blue stairs can be a hindrance, but a big advantage if the attacking team is a lot weaker. But anyway, we will be jumping back into the game. It is going to be Rogue 1-0 up, and they will be on the defense, and they're going to go for the Church and Arsenal Room defense.
So this is something we saw, I want to say we saw earlier today, if I recall, on Clubhouse. It was in the G2 NIP matchup. CCTV and cache was their third choice. So if you consider it to be the strongest site, the most conventional site here, if you can muscle out the first 2 sites, then that gives you potentially your strongest site third. Obviously, there's a risk with that. You can't go back to it as well, because if you win it in the 3rd round, it's locked for rounds 4 and 5. You don't have a shot of going back. So for me, Rogue, probably don't see CCTV Cache as being their best defensive site, because if you wanted to possibly play it twice, you wouldn't take it in the third round. We'll see what they can do with Church and Arsenal. They are running a castle, so I likely imagine that they will probably employ that castle in and around the site rather than possibly doing what you do on Oregon, which is going upstairs and expanding the site above. Probably going to wall off dirt and then see them maybe put it in blue as well. Who knows? It's really depends on where Slash or easily call for Brian to put down those barricades.
So Rogue, they have a big operator for this particular bomb site, which is going to be the Pulse. That is a great operator that can gather a lot of intel very quickly if you do play him in and around that Arsenal area, where he can simply sit right at the back. He can feed intel that if anybody comes into the kitchen, he'll know about it. Plus, he could possibly get a kill from as well. He can feed information onto the main stairs and even look into the bar as well. Construction is another thing he can see, so Pulse is a really good operator for this particular bomb site because he just brings the intel gathering factor that you really do need for Clubhouse, because there is a lot of potential ways that the attackers can play. You can go for the church push, you can go for the kitchen drop, you can go for the blue take, even construction sometimes we've seen. So yeah, certainly figuring out where they're going to go is going to be a good factor for Rogue.
Now, the one thing that Hibana not being banned and a thermite ban will accomplish, as I mentioned it earlier on, it also allows you to get all three of those hatches upstairs. Usually those exothermic charges will be spared for 1 or 2 priority hatches and maybe for dirt, depending on how the attackers want to form their strategy around it. But having those 3 bursts of X-Kairos means that you're able to take care of all 3 of those reinforcements, the trifecta. As you can see, that is always on the main floor stock bar, and then kitchen as well. A vertical pressure combined with either a buck or a sledge in kitchen, which FaZe has plenty of opportunity to do so, as they are actually running both of them. And you can see that Astro working his way down the main stairs. Clubhouse is not the same that it used to be before, where you don't really need to drone it longer than 30 to 40 seconds. There needs to be a much bigger investment in your ability to pinpoint if anybody is playing offsite. And Astro will confront the very first castle barricade, get a couple hits in off of it, and possibly drone to see if there's anybody who's going to push. This could have potentially been a bait, and one thing that we could see, you know, from Castle is, oh no, Astro accidentally throwing a smoke. Not exactly certain why. It looked like he tried to shoot it as well. I don't know what Astro's trying to accomplish there, but looks like it might have just simply been a mistake.
Yeah, a couple of fat fingers being here and there. It does happen, of course, occasionally, but that's going to be pretty big because smoke grenades are huge for those final pushes in towards the bomb sites, especially on a map like Clubhouse, where you need to smoke off these different angles that players like Rogue can hold. Whenever you have a player there in Easley who actually don't think he has the ACOG, he's still probably running the shotgun because of the lack of the smoke. And this is where I'm talking about Eclipse gathering that intel, missing that C4, however, doesn't catch anything with that C4, so that's going to be it going down, and 30 seconds to go, and FaZe and Rogue still no members off the board.
Still see that there's one logic bomb available as well, as Astro had done the first call, could possibly be sparing the second. Easily with those yokai drones means that not only will he not be called, but his 2 yokais will not be hacked either. Astro peeks around the corner and Brian takes him down. That's the second kill for Rogue. His go-on had been finished earlier, but Moringa is in church right now, trying to get the buck in through. Moringa will go for the plan and see if Cameraman can cover appropriately. But the Pulse is getting information for his team. He'll get pushed by the Echo. Easily is down. Big Bri gets Moringa. So we see ourselves at a 2v2 now, as Mav finishes off Geo and primes a grenade to toss in. You can see some silhouettes, but there will be one push in through Mono. Cameraman is there. The C8 will tear through the Pulse. Big Bri is last one standing. What can Brian accomplish? He'll get the buck, goes for the defuse to bait out Mav. Does the sledge get there in time? He doesn't know. Does Mav know that the diffuser is going down? Brian will just stick it, and he manages to get it. Mav fed the wrong info and doesn't know, as Brian sticks the landing, gets the diffuser, and Rogue 2 in a row on a round that they probably shouldn't have walked away with a win from.
That's very, very puzzling for me. Mostly because Mav, whenever the diffuser did get planted, he used both of his frag grenades straight away. The diffuser wasn't even, I believe, ticked 5 seconds, and he threw his frag grenades. he should know, yeah, there's no way Rogue are going to try and defuse as soon as it gets planted. And whenever you have still another member hiding right beside the diffuser where you can hear if it starts getting diffused, then he could have sat in blue, held the frag grenade until the final quarter mark, then you toss your frag grenade. So I'm surprised that Mav just straight up threw his frag grenades, possibly in panic. Maybe he worried that somebody may be right beside the diffuser because his teammate did get killed, but that's certainly what I would say is misplay from FaZe that really did cost him there in that circumstance.
It could have also been that the one round of X-Keros that was used by the Hibana opened up a small hole by the diffuser. If somebody was rotating around through the back of that church wall, or even, or well, the church bar wall technically, or the bottom of the stairs, if that frag grenade lands on the diffuser, its explosive radius is likely going to catch you on the other side, even with that little gap that was opened up by the X-Keros. Possibly could have been their strategy, possibly what Mav could have been attempting, but frag grenade or not, he still either received the wrong information or made the wrong call himself to not push and expect Brian to stick the defuse and manage to get it off right as Mav was within striking distance, giving Rogue the victory in the round. And now they will go up to CCTV. Would have been much stranger if we hadn't possibly seen them rely on bar stock here. So good to see them go with the site that they think, or we have typically seen as the #1 overall site.
Yes, we certainly were not expecting to see the bar. It would be interesting to see their playstyle if they did decide to go for it, because we haven't seen a whole lot of bar stock. Like you said, it's more of a North American kind of thing, where I wouldn't exactly say Rogue have been choosing that bomb site, but certainly the cache and the server room is going to be the main bomb site for Rogue here, as I'm sure they wanted to get the other two out of the way with. It gives them that early lead. They shouldn't have won Church and Arsenal, let's be real here, but of course certainly having the cache room available is going to help them quite a lot. Already Astro inside off the construction tunnel is going to come in contact with Eclipse, a very deadly Jaeger, as he does have great gun skill behind him. Just going to take a couple of pot shots, and then Astro is going to go for his droning phase. So this is certainly going to be the first early engagement we're going to be seeing.
It's a deep roam from Rogue right now, with Eclipse just trying to waste time, but knowing that dirt was free, it was an easy entry point. Astro just droning himself in. One thing we had seen on Bank was the coordination of Astro helping the rest of his teammates. That was a solo drone. He appears to have fallen off of dirt. So, an experiment that we will see no results from. Moringa in a position right now as he works his way in through Jim. Mav is droning for his team, so Moringa will sprint past him, and they can meet up at some point in construction and begin to put some pressure onto Cash. Now, I don't suspect that they'll be able to take construction that freely, as there is likely going to be somebody at least watching in that direction. It does appear that it will be Slash, as his sights are currently trained on that main doorway. 2 drones from FaZe will come in as Gohan's gets zapped as it tries to zap itself. But they do have the construction wall open, so they're looking in to see if the bandit can peek, and oh no, Gohan's recoil will just go above the head of Slash. So Slash will survive that encounter before he takes refuge in by that counter. And then of course Slash trying to play a very tight angle. Somebody is going to get a very lucky shot as they do tussle through the doorway.
So we are going to be having the buck below. This gives FaZe a lot of things to work with. Primarily, it gets rid of the anchor positions that Rogue may have. Also looking at Gohan, he's going to be looking to go for an early pick, but Cameraman, he misses his frag grenade and almost kills himself as well. As that was very, very lucky for Cameraman there not to get taken out. Certainly would have been a highlight moment that I'm sure Cameraman did not want to have. Astro gets the kill onto Eclipse, so 20 seconds to go, and Rogue are going to be on the downfall.
But 2 big kills from Rogue as one cameraman doesn't watch where he's walking, steps right in. Mav and Gohan will add up, and that's the 3v2, and FaZe have managed to somehow take this one in their favor. But Mav very low on HP, Gohan trying to work as the plant goes down, but Geo shuts it down. Gohan and Mav last left standing. It's a 1v1, easily just needs to hide as the clock will strike 0. Need to go for a plant. He cannot fall off, but he does, knowing that it's a certainty that he will be found out from easily. That's 3 in a row for Rogue, and they have won every single defensive site. They can once again start that cycle anew. Probably going to see them go to bedroom and gym, and that's exactly where it looks like we will head.
I am very impressed with this Rogue side being able to defend 3 bomb sites in a row without a mirror and without a smoke. That is no easy feat to perform, so certainly Rogue, they are ready for this. They have adapted to the bans that did come out. Quite possibly they could have expected some of these bans. This could have been what Ranger has decided to look at and really went in hard with his analyzation of the FaZe lineup. So yeah, certainly Rogue are looking very strong. I said I wasn't expecting to see a whitewash for Rogue, but this could be on the cards potentially unless FaZe do provide this comeback like they did on Bank.
We have a brief update for you, so if you're trying to avoid spoilers, please do plug your ears. On the Rainbow Six Bravo channel, the Immortals Element Mystic matchup is now concluded, and Immortals are all done at the Paris Major. Element Mystic will take this series by a score of 2-1. The Koreans will play the French tomorrow, as it will be Millennium versus Element Mystic for the final spot from Group C. As for this matchup, in just a couple moments, I assume we will get underway with Team Secret versus Orglis, where the loser of this matchup will face the winner of that one. At the moment, Rogue looks like they're in good position to possibly take map number 2. They're halfway there. They need to get to 6 on what we have agreed is a defender-sided map. It stands to reason that Rogue would have taken 3 so far. It also means they can't lose the half. At worst, they will come out of this 3-2. But obviously, as with every single map, and I said this exact phrase on Coastline, you want to run up the score. Because if you don't, and you find yourself on the other side of it, and your opponents run up the score, well, then you lose, and your day is done.
Yes, essentially what happened on Bank. Rogue had the great start, and then all of a sudden, FaZe just comes out all guns blazing and just takes round after round from Rogue. We could potentially see the same thing, but if Rogue go 4-0 up, I'm feeling that Rogue are going to have a lot more confidence going into then their attacking round, so certainly Rogue, they're going to be feeling good if they get this defense, and just talking about the defense, they're going to be playing more of a heavy anchor. There's only going to be really one roamer. I wouldn't say roamer, it's more of an offsite anchor, which is going to be the Jaeger inside of the construction area, but again, he can just rotate back in the site as easily as he can rotate out of it. I'm sure that Rogue probably have the same kind of setup that they had last time with Geo playing inside of the office area, trying to bandit trick the double walls, which is going to be the case. He does have a bit more support this time, so certainly it's going to make things a lot easier, but FaZe, they should have adapted by now to know exactly what Rogue are going to do. A bit of trouble there for Mav, trying to get the Legion Knight, but can't really find it. Moringa has gotten himself inside of the construction. There you go, Mav. That's it. Go inside and get it. It's a lot easier, but nonetheless, it is going to be this frag that's going to come out momentarily, and it is going to nail its target this time as Geo does fall. I'm surprised Geo was not ready for that. He did try and rotate to the other side of the brick wall, but that did not work, so that does allow then FaZe to start their staging ground eventually to push in towards that office area, and a couple of members of Rogue are going to have to rotate out and fall back.
It did look like we were about to see an execute from FaZe here as they pushed into construction together. As well, right before that frag grenade landed at Geo's feet, you could hear a couple flashes go off to waste the ADS. And that was the reason why Geo wasn't able to do too much. I don't know why Mav seems to be having some difficulty as he'll look through the floor just to see if there's somebody playing in any vertical space whatsoever. But only 40 seconds left, and FaZe, like sharks in the water, are starting to circle. You've got Astro looking all the way in towards Master, looking into the showers, which is where Easily is playing. Of course, he's going to be sheltered in there on his Evil Eye cams. He'll also be able to battle back from what is a pretty decent amount of distance with that LMG's ACOG on top of it. There you go, you can hear it, but Mav is going to get just a couple shots in through the wall as Gohan may join him. Astro, his smokes will get eaten. That is a very valuable smoke grenade that is not going to be available. Slash gets the first kill to start this fracas, and we have just 10 seconds left. Easily will counterpunch, and that's one for Slash as well. Astro trying to go in. Mav, last man standing, but he will be felled, and this is 4 in a row for Rogue right now. What a commanding performance on this map, and what a reversal from what we saw on Bank.
Yes, the bounce back that we talk about so much. Look at the G2 Mocket game. Who would have thought that Mocket would then go ahead and just 6-0 G2 on Villa? So certainly it does happen more often than we think. But then again, it's still all to play for. There's still potentially only 2 rounds, but FaZe can change that. It's still very feasible for FaZe to possibly win this round. Gives them 4-1, has momentum behind the round, and then all of a sudden they get these defenses, and then they could really put the pressure onto ROUGE, who then could struggle with the attack. So it certainly could go either way. We've seen it a lot where teams, once they flip, they just lose it. We've seen 5-0 leads come back and teams have lost 7-5, 7-6. It does happen quite a lot inside of the competitive play, but then that all just revolves around the mindset of the teams.
I mean, if we want to try to speculate about ROUGE's staying power, they found themselves in a position where they were 1 round away from knocking Team Secretly out yesterday, before Secretly mounted a pretty nice comeback. Forced ROUGE to have to take it to overtime, where ROUGE ultimately did end up winning 2 of those 3 rounds and got themselves the series clincher on Coastline, and what was a pretty heart-stopping finale between the 2 teams. Secretly, of course, or Team Secret will now have their hands full playing against Orgless. But as for ROUGE, I mentioned mental fortitude when describing G2 earlier on, and ROUGE is a team that, of course, like every other team, comprised of human beings, there are emotions behind the players, but typically ROUGE is capable of keeping a level head. They have mature players who have been around an awful lot, up there with Evil Geniuses for one of the most experienced and practiced teams on LAN, who have been in this environment countless times over the last 2 years. Whereas FaZe is definitely a team that finds themselves in very similar position with, I would probably say, a higher penchant for emotion than ROUGE has. Anywho, final round of the first half and the first split. We're going to be defending downstairs, and you've got Geo playing in Garage. Looked like he just tried to get a couple warning shots into Mav. That buffed distance of the Jackal will give away Geo's position, and he will need to head for the hills. He's going to go through blue and manage to find his way back to the safety and security of the site. All 5 members of ROUGE playing downstairs now. This is what we're used to seeing from Clubhouse way back in the day before its changes. It was one of the very few sites where every single member could fit comfortably within the walls of both the church and Arsenal, even possibly playing in dirt, which is where easily as the Echo is playing, and a safe bet to be in dirt, because you're probably not going to use the Hibana on the dirt tunnel because you need them elsewhere.
So FaZe are going to start using their utility, start getting in their buck to primarily rip open that kitchen floor, gets rid of Eclipse primarily, but equally Eclipse could get himself a free kill. A Buck is going to be unsuspecting. Hibana, like you said, is going to come in, get rid of the hatches quite comfortably, but just coming back to the point that we said earlier, FaZe, they have to be ready for the blue. They have to be ready for that rotate. They have to make sure there's going to be a player stationed there. Even if he's just putting pressure on the blue, it means that ROUGE knows, yeah, we can't rotate up there because there's going to be somebody watching that. Cameraman does use a frag grenade, use both of his frag grenades to get rid of the castle barricade. The only way that they really can get rid of it, because they don't have an Ash or Sophia, even the sledge, they don't have that. So using these grenades is going to be good, and that's a really big pick for Gohan on the Twitch drone, is getting rid of the Echo. So that's going to deny ROUGE that potential plant stop, but still a minute to go, and ROUGE and FaZe, we've seen this before. No kills, but typically Clubhouse is kill frenzy in the final 30 seconds.
Almost like a slaughterhouse with still plenty of time on the clock to reset. Cameraman, the Buck will get back up. There's still 1 Yokai in play. Looked like he was playing over by blue. Slash will actively bandit trick the bar wall into church, which means that Moringa, who has 0 of his ex-Kairos left, will not be able to open anything else up. This is going to make the job for FaZe a lot more difficult, as they're going to use the vertical play that they have from both the Buck as well as the shotgun from Mav that had opened the holes earlier on to see if there's anybody playing beneath kitchen. But no, very smartly, ROUGE has managed to evade the gazes of FaZe. And as smokes and the phone calls go out, here comes the execute. You'll see 1 traded off for 1 as 2 kills for ROUGE, 3 kills for ROUGE. Gohan will get into the fray, and Plant will need to go down, but just 5 seconds left. Geo will get the final kill as Gohan walks right into one of the goo mines. You said it tends to be a frenzy, and that's indeed what it was. Within the span of 7 seconds, every single kill happens, and that is ROUGE with a perfect first half. They only need 1 round over the next 5 here on attack to put Clubhouse behind us and move us towards the tiebreaker map and border.
So this is where FaZe don't want to be. They don't want to rely on this particular comeback, and especially a map like Clubhouse where it can happen. Also, just to remind you, this is going to be FaZe's tactical timeout. They're going to recalibrate what they want to do. It's not looking too good at the moment for them. Still have a chance. There's always a possibility. Anything can happen inside of Rainbow Six Siege. It's been the motto since the beginning that you cannot just predict everything that happens unless you're Wilkie with map bans, but that's another story to dive into as well.
the man's he's a prognosticator.
He's pretty smart.
There's habits behind what teams ban what, right? I mean, it depends on the size of your map pool. There's a couple pretty obvious selections. A lot of teams for quite a stretch of time would consistently ban Consulate against Penta, but it got to the point where Penta wasn't really playing, Consulate at the time. Now as G2, we still really haven't gotten to see them do much on Consulate. Both when they were known as Continuum and now Evil Geniuses, Chalet was almost always a must-ban for them as well. Just as FaZe, when they were known as Font, would routinely ban Skyscraper every single time. These were just maps that they never ever played, and there's the pattern there. So you can go and look and say, well, there's a pretty high statistical probability that this team is going to ban this map based upon every other previous map ban phase that they've done. I don't think today's the day that they're just all of a sudden going to be like, you know what? We're not going to necessarily ban this map. Of course, a lot of teams will hide strats on maps, so if they are going to all of a sudden surprise us with a map that they don't usually ban, it would probably be on LAN in the quarterfinals, semifinals, or even finals, depending on how good a team does.
That's one thing that everybody said about G2. They lost Villa 6-0 to Market, but who knows? That could be just the whole beat and switch that G2 may be going through themselves, where teams may look at that Villa and think, oh yeah, G2 really weak in Villa getting beat by Market, but all of a sudden G2 are just like, yeah, we're going to 6-0 you because that wasn't our real strategies for Villa, which I'm sure that's something that G2 certainly would do because they're very tricky like that, and they're very, very thinkful like that. They have players like Fabian, who's very adaptable in them circumstances. Of course, Shaz is going to be a big part of the G2 lineup as well, so he could have had a big say into them. I'm going to put quotation marks throwing the match, but who knows really what GT were thinking besides themselves.
I mean, I said earlier that Fabian tweeted that, it was like a 2,000 IQ play, that they deliberately got 6-0 on Villa so that they wouldn't show strats, yada, yada, yada. I don't necessarily agree with that. For somebody who hates losing as much as Fabian does, I don't think part of his master plan is to deliberately lose a match without winning a single round. But who knows? Maybe we'll see them pick a Villa if they make it into the semis or possibly even the finals, as they have guaranteed their spot in the quarters. If you're going to save it, that would be the opportunity to do so. On FaZe's first defense, they're going to go downstairs. They're going to start off on Church. They might only get one crack at defense, so they better make it count. And right now, Rogue is going to be invested quite heavily in ensuring that there's no real roamers. And as was mentioned on Clubhouse, typically you need to spend a little bit more time to ensure that there's nobody playing off-site with the recent changes.
So Rogue are going to be entering in through the bedroom on the top floor, just clearing out the rumors if there would have been any lurking upstairs, which there is not going to be. You have players there like Gio, who has been performing very, very well on the Sophia particularly. It's quite strange because yesterday he was doing really well on the Ying, so maybe just because of the map, he has to switch his operator lineup. Slash is going to be on that Ying. However, Ying was let through, which is another big operator for this particular map because it gives you a strong pushing force in towards potentially the Arsenal room or even into the bar. Ying can be very useful as well. Some of the hatches as well aren't even going to be reinforced, so that's just going to give Rogue a free mana pellet to use on something else, so they could use it on the kitchen and then use it on the church wall. Use two of them on the church wall if they want to go for that as well. So a bit of a misstep there by FaZe. So certainly it could be a good advantage for Rogue. And with 55 seconds to go, where the time's starting to tick down, certainly these C4s on the side of FaZe, particularly Mav, and some of the Legion traps could come in to bite Rogue in the behind.
I can't even think of where FaZe would have put those extra reinforcements, because usually there's a pretty default strategy here. It doesn't appear that they placed many of them on the corridor whatsoever at the bottom of the main stairs leading all the way to Arsenal, so could just simply have been a very big mistake. If FaZe is tilted and angry, then this could simply just be that showing up, because you don't usually miss those sorts of details. There's only 20 seconds left, and we're going to be heralded at this push by the Candelas going off. Slash will erupt through the hatch, but FaZe will answer it miraculously with Mav and Moringa getting 2. Slash just bursts right in. He'll see 2 himself, and a big double for the Ying. This is a 3v3 now. They're going to have to get that diffuser down. Geo will hop in too. Moringa will need to try to work his way out of dirt. Can he fight his way out? Astro will get 1, but diffuser goes down successfully. Moringa absorbing an awful lot of damage, makes it out of dirt tunnel, but inside of Arsenal will have his work cut out for him. He looks to see if there's a body still alive and blue with Astro working his way around, but Geo is there, and Moringa, the ghost of Moringa, will not be able to do it. That is a perfect 6-0, the second that we have seen today after G2's 6-0ing of Ninjas in Pajamas, and Rogue will now head to the tiebreaker map with a lot of wind at their sails.
Yeah, looking very strong for Rogue. The quick bounce back from the 6-0. Not an easy feat, especially against a team like FaZe, who is a very, very strong team. They have always been extremely strong. Maybe, yeah, sure, their LAN play hasn't been as strong compared to the other Brazilians in the league, but still, nonetheless, they're a very formidable force. And whenever you're seeing them thrown in with Group D, Group of Death, where we couldn't really predict who would come out of this group, certainly Rogue are looking like the favourites heading into Border.
And a very strong showing for them on Clubhouse. And like I said, a very good bounce back from Bank. They started off strong on Bank. They kind of trailed off at the end there, and I think FaZe grabbed that momentum, but it's completely swung in the other direction. We'll see as we have a break for you now if both teams are going to be able to try and harness all of the energy they can, because this is going to be our last map of the day. Border in just a few minutes. We'll be right back.
Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
Welcome back to the final map of today's group stages. FaZe versus ROUGE. If you haven't tuned in just yet, FaZe took map 1, and map 2 went to ROUGE 6-0. Quite an incredible performance, and now we have border waiting for us between both of these teams, and that should be particularly electric with how aggressive both of these teams play. It's also given them a bit of time with our recent break for both of them to cool down or to to potentially heat up as well if they're not in the right headspace at the moment.
Yeah, certainly it does come down, I would say, to the mindset that we talked about. FaZe just losing 6-0, ROUGE winning 6-0, so certainly ROUGE are feeling very happy with themselves. FaZe, not so much, but it's all to play for in Borders, all to play for. Both these teams can play Border as well as anybody else. It does come down to the operator picks and bans, I would say, more so than the actual map, because if you lose a Mira, you're going to have to completely change your strategies up compared to what you would do with your Mira window. So it does kind of fall under the mindset where, yeah, we have to completely adapt and rethink. But at this stage, every single team here have to adapt. That is the best teams in the world. The guys who can adapt, they win it. That's the bottom line.
Outside of Mira, who is usually always a must ban on Border on the defensive side of things, you might see the rare Jaeger or Valkyrie ban, but typically it falls into the Echo Maestro camp because those are the two operators who shine on almost every single site that we see on Border. You can use Echo as bearing 9, you use 2 Yokai drones, of course all that information being provided over to you, as well as a Maestro, as long as you can shelter these anchors, which is the biggest thing. Is a lot of times, unlike a smoke, if you're playing an Echo or you're playing a Maestro, you usually need to stay safe because you have to stay alive. ROUGE is the first ban on attack. Who are they going to take an option? Ying. They're going to, even though they played Ying on Clubhouse themselves, particularly Slash in that very final round. We only got to see it once because they only had one attacking round. They're going to take Ying out of the fray.
Yeah, big ban, a really big impact attacker for the most part. Talking about impact attackers, that's going to be Lion getting rid of, so it does limit the universal factor that ROUGE may want to go for, but then this does leave the option for Dokkaebi to be picked, and we did see Lion and Dokkaebi both being banned out last time in Clubhouse, so then having the Dokkaebi available also plays into that same big impact operator, which can win you your gunfights 9 times out of 10. First defending band is going to be the Bandit being gone, so that is probably one of the picks that we never see getting banned at all.
I don't even remember if Bandit's ever been banned.
No.
Period. This is probably going to be a Mira is my guess. Oh no, an Echo. All right, so all of these bans defying conventional logic. This means that Mute is going to be particularly important because he's going to have to shoulder all of that weight. There will be no active Bandit tricking because you can't Mute trick. But I wonder if the Bandit ban likely coming out as a response to the fact that no hard breachers were taken off the board, which means that an exothermic charge as well as the X-Kairos from both Hibana and Thermite will be available, and it's not super strange to see teams run both hard breachers on Border. Typically because you'd have the Thermite maybe deal with one of the 2 walls, either the back of the office wall and archives or maybe the armory wall to start things off, as armory, lockers, archives is usually always the default starting spot here. Easily is likely going to flex off of castle. ROUGE has actually done this a number of times. ROUGE will lock in a castle right off the bat so that people think that they're going to a site that isn't armory, lockers, archives, and then immediately switch off. And there you go, you get the Mute instead.
Yeah, very good pickup, like you said. You're expecting the Mute to, in combination with the Mira. No Thermite on the side of FaZe, which is quite worrisome. Whenever we see that Mira's going through, you need to use your X-Kairos pellets to get rid of that Mira window, so then you're wasting your hard breach potential to burst into the bomb site. So having both of them would make it a lot more flexible and adaptation. Potentially if you lose your Hibana to a spawn peak, which is common on border, then you still have your Thermite to rely on and vice versa as well. So certainly a lot of potential for Rogue to uproot this FaZe attack if they do get the early picks.
The Hibana is going to be interesting to say the least, and I would suspect that we're likely going to see a B take with this composition. They know that they can't bandit trick it. You have the grenades there as well from Mav, so it's going to be very easy. They can just drop a grenade over top of B, possibly use the X-Kairos to open up the panel that Brian is currently reinforcing, and then you can just push your way in. If I'm Rogue, you have to station somebody downstairs in Ventilation Workshop, in particular the workshop area, and you have that open hatch there. Somebody is likely going to drop on out. Usually that's where Slash will play as the Pulse, because you give information to your team, but also can lob that C4 up through the open hatch to stop a push in through Office.
So just touching upon that Pulse as well, it gives you more of that intel gathering factor as well if you're going to play him inside off the bomb site. So that does give Rogue a lot more of adaptability whenever they can figure out exactly where FaZe are going to start pushing from. FaZe, however, they're going to try and get to the roof first of all and drone out this office area. Typically you wouldn't do this unless you're really wanting to push in towards that office, so that could be a potential push for FaZe. Mav, he may be looking to go for the quick rotate onto the ventilation unit, but that's not going to be the case. It's a very typical area that some members do put themselves in, and that really does lock down most of the B bomb site from that one window.
Yeah. So they have full control of CCTV at the moment in favor of FaZe. As you can see from Rogue, they are all in the site, so you don't have anybody roaming whatsoever. Every member of Rogue playing within the confines of both A as well as B. Interesting to see that Slash isn't bothering to do anything underneath the site. He can possibly rotate down at some point, but they're going to situate him behind the Mira window. I was wrong about it possibly being a B take. It might have been to start off with, but Moringa will use 2 of those rounds of X-Kairos, of 3 to open up the armory wall. They will have to vault in, though. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but they can just not walk their way in. Because Moringa only has 1 remaining, it looks like he was trying to use it on the Mira window. Could have possibly been inside of small office. It would have helped take one of the prongs away from the defense here.
Big C4 kill coming out from Easily, using that mute C4 to the best of his advantage, as that will be Gohan getting taken out. A big fragger for FaZe clan will be eliminated from the entirety of this round. Brian as well has rotated himself in towards the A bomb site as well, which is exactly where you need your smoke to be, and this is where the gas canisters can start to be thrown out and start delaying FaZe just that little bit more, as you did see Astro as well use a smoke grenade. So that is going to be 1 utility down for FaZe clan, and also the second one is going to be used as well.
Answered by their own Toxic Babe. One of the things that is currently working against FaZe by quite a bit is that there's a mute jammer behind that Mira window in small office. That's the reason why they have not been able to get those X-Kairos off to take the Mira window out of action as well. The 2 members that are currently standing on that mute jammer do not have to worry about possibly receiving a phone call. Easily gets a kill as double from Astro and Moringa as they will jump into action. Slash with a big C4, but Astro, last man alive, will have to go for the plan, and it's Geo with the C4. Tons of explosives being brought out by Rogue, all used appropriately and all netting some substantial success. That will technically be 7 rounds in a row for Rogue, dating all the way back to Clubhouse, and it's a good start for the North American squad.
Yeah, very strong start from Rogue. This has been the same similar format we have seen every single map, where Rogue have took the first round and then they have proceeded to essentially take the second one as well in most cases. I wonder if we're going to be seeing the same similar type of way if Rogue do continue this type of aggression that we've seen a lot more from Rogue. It's typically not the standard that we're seeing. Possibly that may be because they've completely switched up their playstyle to get ready for the Paris Major. Look at Secret, they were not ready at all yesterday for that aggression for Rogue, and whenever a team like Rogue really do want to take out your main fragger, your main slayer for your team, then certainly it causes a lot of issues for your team, puts a big spanner in the works for most of your strategies. Look, for example, yesterday, Leon Gids for Team Secret, a big player for them. Every single time Rogue were able to get the first kill onto that player.
Leon Gids, in all defense of Leon Gids, that's typically how Secret use him, though. He's very aggressive. He typically will go for spawn peaks. He'll typically try to take fights, and I would imagine that more restraint would probably go a long way, keeping him alive, because we've seen him be so clutch in the dying moments of rounds to help his team out. Obviously, somebody that has that strong fragging potential, as you said, dying early, being the opening death leader of a game is not exactly a mantle somebody wants to put on. But we'll see what happens in that Orgless matchup, as I'm sure it is underway at the present moment. The winner of that match, need we remind everybody watching, will face off against the loser of this match. Could it possibly be Rogue? And could it possibly be Secret? Would we see a rematch? Could it possibly be FaZe and Orgless? Would we see a rematch there? Or could it be any of the other combinations available to us? Rogue right now, at this very moment in particular, must have a lot of momentum behind them. It did appear that FaZe was a little frustrated just from their appearance, body language, etc. after that matchup against Rogue. And obviously getting 6-0'd, probably not good for morale.
No, it's certainly going to put a bit of a dampener on things inside of the FaZe and the FaZe lineup. But if they want to make sure they do get into that final, they're going to have to get their way out of this. They're going to have to drag their way into this matchup. They need to get these next couple of rounds on the board. If they go into a 3-2 with the switch, then certainly FaZe are looking fairly confident in themselves. But who knows, Rogue could perform the exact same way. We've seen them on Clubhouse where they had that first round and then they just took every other one. So it is very feasible that Rogue could go for the sweep once again, and FaZe, they're still not bringing the same kind of aggression. Typically we would see the first pick by now, but for some reason it's still very slow between both of these teams. It's something to touch upon in Clubhouse, but then again, that is Clubhouse, where it is Kill City in the last 30 seconds. Border can be sometimes like that whenever you do push in towards the armory, but for the most cases there typically is a few picks within the first 2 minutes.
Especially on this side in particular, you could find yourself in a position where, as we get a good aerial view of what exactly is going on, cameraman holding this angle for the last like 40 seconds, waiting to see if somebody is going to possibly fight him here, but for the time being, no, nobody's bothering to take the bait. It's not unusual for the site in particular of the four for a lot of passive play, as you need to gather every bit of information, clear out that second floor, and then begin to push on the main floor. FaZe, for the time being, have not done enough of a job taking care of that second floor. Geo, Eclipse, and Slash are all currently still above the main site, and that will be a problem for FaZe, as just for a second there, Slash will reveal his elbow and take almost a mortal blow, but only 40 seconds left. The C4 will go off just in front of cameraman, will not hit him. He'll remain unscathed. Gohan playing on Sandwich. Phone calls will go out, and this means that the position of the Rogue players will be revealed. Eclipse will just give himself away for free. He wriggles away on the floor, easily dropped by Mav, and Slash still very low on HP, but Brian will get the first kill for Rogue as the diffuser goes down. This is a tough situation, but a possible retake is at play, as Geo will get one to equalize. 3v3. Slash is very low, need I remind you, but will still get a kill, even with 1 HP, capable of fragging out, and that will be cameraman. As Gohan swings in, Brian is there, Mav is last man, he's got the SMG-12, 2 for Mav! He's in a great position to clutch. It's going to be all up to Brian. Last time around with Mav, he was able to stealthily defuse. Mav will give his position away for just a second. He only has a couple moments left, and this is it. It's going to be out of time, and Mav with the big clutch! That's what FaZe needed. Brian just simply running out of time, and FaZe is alive. They will tie things up.
A very tough retake there for Brian. He has to watch two angles, that being the doorway that Mav did kill him from, but he was also cautious of that window, which equally Mav could have rotated around. He is still a 2-speed, very flexible in his movement, so certainly by no means a hard clutch for Mav, really. It was very simple for him to get the call-outs and just peek the way he did. So certainly FaZe, they needed that round. It gets them back in the game, gets their morale up. And certainly we are going to be having a fairly good showing here on board of the way that things are starting to plan out.
So there's still a pulse on the body of FaZe. And Rogue will get a second crack at Ventilation Workshop. Rogue did an exemplary job of holding that second floor. Killed so much time. But they got a bit too aggressive as FaZe breached their way in through Armory and begin to attack over towards the Archive part of the map, my apologies. And that was needless, and Eclipse basically just very slowly worked his way around, and well, you can't really do too much. He found himself in a very vulnerable position. That was an easy pick for FaZe, and they just kind of kept the ball rolling down the hill at that point.
Protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
So we're going to go back downstairs once again with Rogue.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Typically, we could see, for the most part, we usually do see a bit of a change-up if bomb sites don't work for some teams. We could have seen the tellers or even the customs come out, and whenever you're talking about custom defense, typically Mira isn't there on board. A lot of teams do ban out the Mira, but for these circumstances, we see the Mira, so it does make that bomb site a lot more viable in terms of the upstairs control inside security. So certainly that could have been an option for Rogue. I'd imagine it's going to be the exact same setup from Rogue, where they have the Mira windows upstairs, the more aggressive hold. They're not going to allow FaZe to get as much control as they can and start ripping in to all of that destructible flooring. Border, still one of the most destructible maps inside of the map pool. It has been like that for quite some time, and also them castle barricades are going to be used for a good intel to where FaZe are going to be pushing from, because if they get destroyed within the first couple of seconds, yeah, you know exactly what way they're going to come in from. And even in the final couple of seconds, if FaZe have to go for an adaptation and have to rotate, that could stop the push indefinitely.
I'm very glad that you mentioned Customs and Mira, because they are intertwined with one another. We've seen teams successfully hold Customs without her because, as you pointed out, Mira is banned out most of the time. It's actually quite a shock that Mira isn't at this point. The Bandit ban was a bit of a surprise, but you know, you can't say the same about the Echo. It stands to reason that Echo would be removed, as he's a very strong operator in his current iteration, especially after the buffs and the semi-rework he got, which was changes to the Yokai drone and then to the number of Yokai drones. But when Mira is typically banned, we do see the bathroom typically ends up being the place where a lot of teams will instead prove to play. And it typically ends up being more defender-favored, at least from the few instances that we've seen. Anywho, we see a pretty typical setup from Rogue here. They've been running an awful lot of Mute, and in conjunction with the Castle, just to try to slow things down. The Mute did a great job on Bank of keeping FaZe from being able to take map control away, but it's not the be-all and end-all of FaZe. They've been able to get some pretty good coordination under their belt when need be and still be able to push even if the Mute Jammers are slowing them down.
Yeah, certainly having that bit of disruption for the drones of FaZe can come in pretty big within the last couple of droning phases, especially whenever they're looking to attack this top 4 bomb site. Being able to deny that drone coverage can help keep the members of Rogue alive just that little bit longer to see out the disruption of the top floor primarily. Cameraman is going to start working on that mirror window along with Gohan, who is also going to be stationed on that single window. So they're starting to try and pressure Slash a lot more, but 40 seconds to go. It seems to be almost the same repeat that FaZe fell into last time, where they're trapped in this tunnel vision kind of sense where they're trying to focus on one thing rather than looking at the overall objective.
They haven't even been able to get inside of Armory. At this point, FaZe was able to burst in, Cameraman get a kill, but that hasn't happened. Not quite yet, at least. Gohan repelled up on Sandwich Window was a strong position for him to be, but they're going to have to just simply go for the site and go for the plant without these kills that they got last time around. In fact, when Cameraman tries to push in, last time his success, it will be met with misery and failure this time, as it's Slash getting the kill. The Ash will go down, and Eclipse stops Moringa from planting in his tracks, but Mav is there to get a kill. He's been real good the last 2 rounds. On Repel, Gohan, a Clay Pigeon, as Slash will shoot him out of the air, and Rogue will just simply wait the clock to 0. This is FaZe with very poor time management. You can see that Rogue shored up their issues last time around and were able to do what I think their intended strategy was the first time. Also, as we head into round number 4, they've unlocked Armory Lockers and Archives, so even though there was a loss in one of the rounds, they will go back to a site that they have previously won. That's a good position for Rogue to be in.
Yeah, equally, you could say if they win this particular bomb site, then they're going to have to go for the different one, which could be customs, more than likely going to be customs, because we discussed quite heavily on the fact that Mira is going to be allowed free, which is still quite surprising on a map like Border, certainly. So the Armory Lockers and Archives for Rogue, fairly standard setup for them, more or less. It's almost the exact same lineup that they did bring last time, where they have the intel gathering with the pulse, a bit of disruption with the mute on easily, and certainly the heavy anchors from Smoke and Mirror, the great combo that we didn't get to see last time inside Clubhouse, but we will be seeing both of them brought this time.
So a nice 6 pick there. Onto a Thatcher. It would puzzle me that we weren't seeing more Thatcher play to try and take care of these mute jammers, but with how reliant Rogue is being on mute at the moment, it was formerly Geo, now easily will switch on to that role. It stands to reason that you bring the EMP is because a Twitch drone can still be countered by cleverly placed mutes or even potentially just by being shot, whereas outside of an ADS you really can't do much to counter that EMP. So Rogue's second final crack at defense as they are currently leading and poised in a position to possibly take this, but same with FaZe. It really depends on whether we view this as more defender-sided or not. The fact that Mira is in play would suggest to me, along with both hard breachers being available, that the defense would be in a good position. But Thermite and Hibana both available with no Bandit. It's going to force teams on defense to play very differently because you won't be able to deprive the attackers of that potential utility. I am a little surprised that we really haven't seen Thermite play coming out from FaZe. Could just possibly be that FaZe feels much more at home and comfortable running that Hibana. She certainly still has her uses here, but possibly even just to switch up to the exothermic charge and what it brings to the destructive capability of your attacking lineup could be what's needed, as FaZe doesn't want to see this attack slip away from them.
Yeah, we talked about earlier inside of the first round where they didn't decide to opt for bringing both hard breachers, so if they did have that, it would make their attack a lot more flexible in what they can do, and especially whenever, for Armory, the bigger the hole, the better for pushing in with your smoke canisters on Astro with his 2 smoke canisters, and even just to get a couple of nades lobbed in as well could also be a really big factor. And just talking about X-Kairos, those will be going down on the main wall. They still are going to have to try and get through a mirror window as well, so that's going to be the big stopping power that Rogue have over FaZe, unless they're going to try and get the other one as well. They're going to use the last X-Kairos pellets to get rid of that mirror window, which I'm sure will happen. They have the Thatcher to get rid of the mute jammers as well. Slash maybe looking to go for the C4 toss, which could have worked there. Look how close Moringa is.
He's just right now flirting with death. Moringa is just an explosive blast away, and easily he's going to just get a couple shots in himself, but there goes the EMP, and this will open things up. It also happens to take the C4 down. Slash waits just a little bit too long, and the C4 explodes in midair. Moringa will now get that mirror window, and there you go. A C4 as easily will unleash it this time. Slash doesn't need to do it. Brian from behind the mirror will take some damage as the mirror window explodes. FaZe have managed to take out a pretty critical spot for Rogue and a really important impediment that was stopping them. But easily will add to the body count as Gohan falls. That is the Twitch with great fragging potential, who look to be working her way in through the staff break room. Mav will get the first kill for FaZe. That's Eclipse, who will be no more, but that's the Jaeger. That is not a high impact target necessarily. Astro working his way in through the armory door will probably kick off what I would imagine is the rest of this execute. From below, Mav will just miss one of the defenders, as Slash can still stay alive and will be very important in this push.
Easily is going to get a kill on the Astro, but the quick refrags from Cameraman does take out that mute. 2 versus 2. Cameraman and Mav have to be the Stephen Grace as Cameraman gets a great shot onto Slash. Geo stuck inside of the 2v1, gets the kill onto Mav. T4 gets tossed out. Does he get it? He does! And Geometrics gets the clutch for Rogue, and they will be taking a hefty lead against FaZe Clan.
I've called him Sleepy Geo before, but Geo is 100% awake. Amelia with a nice toss, and that's a nice phase up, bruh, that he can give to his opponents. So Rogue managing off of the heroics of Geo in the dying minutes to keep that round in the win column for them, and they will now have to go to one of either customs or bathroom tellers, as you very astutely mentioned, because of the site rotation, and it appears the bathroom tellers will be the way to go. Interesting, and they will do so without a Mira. Now, this is one of the few sites on all of the sites that we see on all the different maps that does not rely on having a Mira window. Typically, the way that Bathroom Tellers is going to work out is you're going to defend upstairs. Right as I say that, Brian is going to switch onto the Mira. It is possible to do this site without a Mira window, but if she's available, take her. Not a requirement. A lot of teams will put those Mira windows upstairs in the office area, possibly even downstairs in bathroom, looking into ventilation workshop stretch of real estate.
Yeah, just touching upon that office area, that's going to be the main focus that ROUGE want to defend, because then that denies all of the access that FaZe can use. It is going to have a big drop hatch that goes right down in towards the B, and also a bit of destructibility that can be used, as that a bomb site can be destructible from above. So that's going to be another reason why ROUGE certainly want to try and hold it down as much as you can. So you touched upon that we weren't going to see the Mira, but then the 6th pick, and you said, yeah, you can do it without the Mira window. That's mostly because it is one of the smallest bomb sites we have on border. So having a Mira window doesn't really affect it that much. Whenever typically teams still just try and hold from above, and you can even open the drop hatch if you're that confident, and then use that drop hatch to the defender's advantage if the attackers manage to get in towards that B bomb site. A really isn't used as much, because then you have a lot of drop hatches and rotations that then the defenders can use, as you do see that archives hatch being opened that ROUGE can use if Habana wants to try and go ahead and get rid of those walls beside the A bomb site. So certainly a lot of things that ROUGE need to focus on and defend, but if they do it well, then FaZe will have an extremely harsh time actually picking up this win on this particular bomb site.
The times that we see teams be able to get into the bathroom and successfully pull off a plant is only after that entire second floor is cleared out. And then you'll see them usually head to those two concrete walls in the shower stall and manage to get the plant off around there, and then have somebody possibly watch from workshop to make sure that if you're getting pushed, usually at that point the only way you're getting pushed from is tellers, and then you just need to hold one single angle as they try to funnel in. Ends up being the undoing of some pretty good teams. Gohan, who has yet to find the scoreboard, will try to use his Twitch drone to grab one of the Mira windows, but it looks like both of them have now disappeared, and that is not great for Gohan to find himself in. That's a heartbreaking time, because he can't get those Mira windows, he can't get those mute jammers either. And then you see there's no Thatcher being brought from FaZe this time around, though they will manage to sledge the one castle barricade. The defenders playing inside of office upstairs.
I'm liking this strategy that FaZe are going to try and go for it and actually toss some nades over that little bit of an opening you have right above that wall. So certainly you can use that to the best of your ability to potentially frag that Mira, but that ADS did manage to save one of them. But the other one did go in. Great shot from Astro. Great coordination from Astro, and also the sledge that will be able to take out Eclipse. And the pushing from Astro, he's just going to go for it. He gets the kill to easily as well. So 5 versus 3, and this is what ROUGE did not want to happen, is to allow players like Astro to pick up this speed and start getting these kills.
It's going to leave Brian upstairs with a lot of work cut out for him. Though time is currently on the side of ROUGE, there's not a ton of time that's left for FaZe to be able to perform this execute. It's still going to continue to tick down as Astro sustains some damage. And Gohan is now the one that's going to try to find Brian. And with 30 seconds to go, it's a 5v2. ROUGE look like they're going to remove themselves from the split by a scoreline of 3-2. Geo trying to get back to site, but will not be able to do so. And that's FaZe getting another on the board for them. That is a round that they really needed to win.
Yeah, big round win for FaZe. That does square up 3-2, so it does give FaZe a little bit of a fighting chance going in to these next couple of rounds, and it will be FaZe on the defense, and then it will be ROUGE on these attacks. So we're going to see the swap for both of these teams. It will be curious to see if ROUGE are going to stick with only bringing the Habana. We know that Thermite is available this time compared to the Clubhouse, so certainly if they want to go for both of them, like we touched upon, where, yeah, it definitely is feasible bringing both of them because it gives you that reliability and the adaptation that you can bring. Equally, looking at the side of FaZe, they're going to be bringing the Duck for the first time, an operator that doesn't see a whole lot of play, still has a great gun in the form of the MP5, has the ACOG as well, so you can challenge a lot of long angles. And on border, where it does have a couple of long quarters, certainly that could be the case. And whenever we know that Rogue do bring this heavy nade strategy, look at that, Sledge and Buck both being brought. If the nade does manage to down a player of FaZe in an awkward position where they cannot get the rev, then certainly Doc could be the great provider to getting his teammates up.
The one thing that you mentioned about Thermite as well is that Rogue does have a natural Thermite player on that team. So it's not like a team like, say, Evil Geniuses, who almost never run Thermite. For Rogue, they definitely have one. And speaking of, even FaZe, who didn't look like they had a natural Thermite player either, Rogue is quite comfortable putting easily on that position and having him be able to help out as they transition from, you know, the ability to do the site destruction and then move into a plant scenario. Instead, they're going to run with the Hibana here. And I mean, you can really bring either of them as long as you're confident enough that you don't need that huge avenue into the site that an exothermic charge brings, because you might not get the ability to move freely into the site that you would get with an exothermic charge, but you get a significant increase in fragging potential. Somebody like Easily, who is very consistent with his gunplay and great at hitting his shots, will have a smaller magazine in the Type 89, but will then have the bearing there if need be to pull it out. Could also be like a team like FaZe Clan, which is chock full of great marksmen and good shooters. That could be why they were running the Hibana too. Of course, being the 3-speed doesn't hurt. So, Rogue will get their first crack on attack in what is a 3-2 scoreline as we start off the second half here of our final map on this channel of the day, and we will see our final team advance to the quarterfinals. Already Vitality, G2, and Evil Geniuses have secured their places in the final 8 and will play in the playoffs on Friday once the official event begins. One more team will join them from the group stages today. On the other channel, we see that there's a match going on between Team Secret and Orgless. The winner of that match will play the loser of this one. The loser of that match will go home. So in case you're curious, because I know somebody will ask, no, this is not the last you will see of Rogue or FaZe Clan, and no, the loser does not go home.
Yeah, certainly if you do lose this matchup, you still have another chance to redeem yourself tomorrow. Of course, you're still going to go against either Secret or Orgless, which is no easy task either, two very strong teams inside of EU, so certainly that could be a potential great matchup for tomorrow as well. And that will essentially be the last match that we will have of the group stages as well, will be the Group D playoff. But certainly Rogue are looking poised to go for this this take and get ready for, I'm sure, a very frenzy round.
And this is a potential big mistake here, but the 3 grenades that get tossed out, 2 by the Buck of Slash and 1 from Geo, will not down the Dock of Astro. It will blow the hatch beneath his feet. He will fall down to Workshop and then will heal himself back up with his stim pistol. It could have been a major blow to FaZe's chances on this round, not taking a Jaeger with them. We know how important Jaeger is on this matchup. And on border in particular, Rogue has assembled themselves in offices to look for a pretty classic B take, and the final grenade will hit Gohan, and they will not secure a kill with any of those 4 frag grenades that were available, as they have used both sets of pairs on both the Buck as well as the Sledge. But dying moments of round number 6, and FaZe's 3 bodies downstairs. They've got a C4 of both Cameraman and the C4 of Mav positioned in Workshop as Astro works his way up the stairs, possibly trying to get back to site. But Cameraman, one of the 2 bodies that are downstairs, will be taken out by Eclipse. That's the Zofia, who's now going to work on trying to take care of Mav. Moringa trying to rotate will get caught by Slash, and the diffuser goes down, and nobody is any the wiser. Though Valkyrie will take out Eclipse, that was the 1 player from Rogue trying to take out the site, or the players that were beneath the site. The ACOG of Astro will work its magic, and that is Brian falling victim as Slash picks up his 2nd kill, and that's Gohan. Only 2 members of FaZe left, and they have half the diffuser to go with. Astro will get downed, but will stim himself back to health. Slash will pick up his 3rd kill. Mav will have an MPX in his hands as he works against some pretty pesky opponents. He has only a quarter of that diffuser left. Slash in prime position. He'll pick up a nice 4K from Spencer as Rogue finished out the round. The first attack for them will prove to be successful, and they are only 2 rounds away from joining the other 3 teams in the quarterfinals on Friday.
Big plays from Slash, one of the most notable players inside of that team, probably the most decorated, I would say, as well, with the amount of experience he has. You know, even looking at Slash, he had time at Evil Geniuses at one point as well. He's been about quite a bit, but certainly his Rogue lineup is looking very strong at the moment against FaZe Clan, who they just did not have, I would say, the roam presence that they needed to have. Sure, they had the Valkyrie downstairs, but if she's not going to do anything, then why would you play her downstairs if you're not going to be able to get one of the simplest C4 kills that you can get? Possibly the Valkyrie camera could have been shot, so they couldn't relay that information, but then you could just bring the pulse. It's not going to be banned out, which does the job, I would say, a whole lot easier.
I have to imagine that the communication had fallen off dramatically. They've had both Cameraman and Mav downstairs with their C4s in hand, but the possibility to stop a plant with the C4 was interrupted by Eclipse entering on a solo mission downstairs to make sure that the presence in workshop that was had by FaZe would not see any success on potentially stopping that plant. Not to mention the fact the plant going down inside of Archives meant that the C4 from Mav would have had to have come towards the bathroom, which is where Eclipse was playing, and Mav was situated closer towards the A-bomb, playing by the ventilation wall. So it just was a matter of timing. Mav couldn't get to where he needed to go because of the looming threat of Eclipse downstairs. Now, Eclipse eventually ended up getting killed by Mav, but it was after the plant went down, and then when you're trying to transition in that post-plant stage, you don't really want the MPX to be the gun in your hand.
Yeah, certainly. Still another point, talking about the way that Mav killed Eclipse, it allowed him to go in towards the bathroom area.
5 seconds left.
Slash was played right above that bathroom area. He got 2 kills before anything was said. That could have been the easiest kill for Mav. He had a C4. Could have got that kill on the Slash, and that could have been a potential retake, because Slash was the guy who stopped Mav from going for that, so that could have been another option that FaZe could have went for. Again, it's hindsight. We can see it a lot better than they can, but still, it's something to look back on, and it is an option that potentially FaZe can adapt and work on.
Now, one thing that does, I think, need to be explained for viewers and for people who have never played this game in a LAN setting. The number of rotates that have been shut down, and people say, well, why would you rotate there? Even us, we have said, why would you rotate there? It's because a lot of times when you're playing online with a ping variable and the way that the servers and the tick rate works of the game, you can get away with those kind of rotates. You can use your speed, if you're a 2-speed or a 3-speed, to make those rotates and know that your opponent isn't going to be able to hit those shots because of the limitations, because of the ping, the netcode, and the servers. That doesn't exist here. So a lot of these rotates that teams are used to making to escape those hairy situations, they can't do that because their opponents are able to capitalize and punish them. That's something to keep in mind too. And that's what ended up leading things off with the smoke of Moringa as he tried to push his way around Sandwich by the lockers. He gets picked off. Why would you make that rotate? Why would you try for that risk? Well, there's a possibility. Eclipse eliminates Astro. The Jaeger down, and they won't make a mistake. They will take a Jaeger down, and humorously, the next kill will be a frag grenade onto Moringa. Rogue right now will start it off with 2 kills in the first 90 seconds.
That's going to be a big operator off the board for FaZe. Big kills for Rogue is Moringa, who is the smoke, who is one of the biggest operators for this. But that is going to be Brian getting the C4 kill, as we've seen the risky run out from Mav, and that is going to shut him down. So a 2 versus 5, and FaZe Clan are just falling apart at the seams. It's as if a book has been thrown into the deep water with no hope of survival. Certainly Cameraman is trying to hold down that B window as well as he can, and Gohan, honestly, he is in no position to help him at this stage.
No, this is a rough round for FaZe, and I don't know if it's the frustration maybe getting them or not. Gohan will at least be able to get 1 kill to possibly tip this towards FaZe's side, but Cameraman will take some damage and then get downed now as well. Diffuser planted successfully. Gohan, last man alive. He'll get 1 kill to add to his 1 already onto easily, but that is Rogue now moving to match point. You got to imagine the frustration from FaZe is definitely there, but Rogue looks pretty calm to cool, pretty calm and cool and collected. May be in a good position to lock this one out and finish things off.
Yeah, certainly Rogue is one of those teams with the very established mindset. They know the job they need to do. Looking at yesterday's game whenever they were against Secret, they were 5-1 up. Still calm, cool, collected. You're a big, massive lead, but they know it could still have been a comeback, which it almost was as well against Secret. So yeah, certainly that would give ROUGE a little bit of a fright that they have to worry about, that anybody can come back. Siege is that kind of game where stuff like that does happen, so certainly ROUGE are going to want to make sure they can pull this out.
This might be a little belated, but FaZe has taken their tactical timeout, staring down the barrel of match point. Try not to be too critical of what we see of the way that FaZe has played. FaZe has only been able to put together 2 rounds in the previous 13. That's a pretty bad ratio by any stretch of the imagination, or by you know, any explanation. But why do you use your tactical timeout when you're on match point? You're in a position where, you know, it's 4-2. You're heading into the split, a perfect opportunity for you possibly to take time to reflect on what you've done and really get your mind out of where it is, which is probably anger, probably frustration. Because if you can't just put those rounds on the board, it's going to eat up. It's going to eat you up. You can see we're going to head into the very final round. It's going to be Armory Lockers. I'm a bit surprised, in all honesty, that FaZe would bother to try this site a 3rd time. The first time, you actually did a better job of holding it than you did the second time. The second time, things fell apart real fast, and even though Gohan was able to get 2 kills, they were impactless frags at the tail end of a round in which you lost site control, and Gohan can't get back to site to deal with the fact that you have a full team staring you down with the diffuser planted as well. I would have suspected that FaZe would have possibly tried to go downstairs to ventilation workshops simply because you've tried this site twice, it hasn't worked. If it doesn't work a 3rd time, it's going to be pretty easy for people to say, you probably should have gone elsewhere.
It could be that tactical timeout, the coach could have put in a bit of information that he could have picked up that possibly the players collectively could not have seen, so maybe he has something up his sleeve that could help them crumble this ROUGE attack. But the way we just seen ROUGE perform even better than the first time, that leads us to believe that ROUGE certainly have found the code that they need to crack for this FaZe defense. So yeah, I am expecting ROUGE to really push everything they have in hopes to getting this final round sealed out and move their way into the finals during the weekend.
So at stake in this potential round is a 2-day mini vacation in Paris, France, as if ROUGE wins this, they, as you mentioned, don't have to come back till Friday.
2-day preparation, for example, as well.
2 days of preps, maybe go take a couple pictures of the Eiffel Tower, which they've already done. Maybe go do it again. You got 2 days at your disposal. Right now as well, we have an update for you, so spoilers ahead. Plug your ears if you'd like. Team Secret winning round, or winning map number 1, 1-0. So for you, you know, it might still be coming home, who knows. It certainly wasn't coming home in the World Cup. That's
it came home at Valencia, so who knows?
But it actually came home here in France in the World Cup, so there you go. But Team Secret is up 1-0, and they will go to map number 2 against the German team of Orglis. 1 minute has expired in what could be our final round as we sit on match point for ROUGE. As I'm FaZe, you need to get very aggressive, and that's exactly what happens. You cannot allow ROUGE to take offices away from you as readily as they have, but they will drop a grenade, and Geo, channeling his inner BC, will drop Gohan, and that is a care package through the ceiling into offices.
All about these COD puns, aren't you? Little COD IMW2 fanboy.
I think it's appropriate to fit them in. As well, you got to question, where are those ADSs? Have they been burned already because you're allowing all these grenades to come in and wreak this much havoc? You got gadgets there designed to stop it.
Yeah, especially whenever ROUGE, they have this heavy fragging potential that FaZe should know at this stage. They always bring the buck, they always bring the sledge. There's 2 operators with the frag grenade you need to worry about. 4 in total. You only have 3 ADSs, which stop 6 grenades essentially, so certainly they need to, I would say, pile them up a lot more if they're going to play inside of the office. Put 2, because then you could potentially see 2 flashbangs go in and then a need, but that need will get eaten up by the second ADS. So a lot of mind games, I would say, that ROUGE certainly are putting the pressure on the FaZe because they're not entirely sure where ROUGE going to push next.
A lot of drone work still going on as the final minute of this round. Slash downstairs will get pre-fired through the wall and try to take an engagement, but he doesn't see anybody that he's fighting against. Gio's already got 1 kill. He'll get a second. Pulls out the SMG-11 and takes out Mav. And Mav has been the best player for his team so far. Moringa gets killed, though, and will put us back to a 3v3. And you also lose the Hibana, so no more hard destruction available. Brian will have to rotate in. He sees the Ela, unable to land his shot. Slash with 2 big kills will leave just Cameraman. He's below, and he's going to have to pray that this C4 can do something, because as a 3 armor getting back to site for the retake, possibly getting boxed out. He'll get pre-fired from Slash, who drops a grenade, drops a second grenade. Cameraman will soldier on. Diffuser is down, but he will have to work his way through metal detectors. Gio is there, and Cameraman will get Brian. It's all up to a 1v1, a situation that we thought could be very unwinnable. Possibly could swing in FaZe's favor. But Gio does have his reticle just waiting, and there it is. Gio will seal the deal, and Rogue will have the next 2 days off. FaZe will await the winner of Secret and Orgless